Hello! Hello everybody! Welcome to the stream. I'm here. I'm gonna read a book. I'm gonna take a sippy, as per Polar Star's request. Hello! Good evening. I hope you're all excited to read more scary. Although it's been getting less scary, I've noticed. I mean, like, the yellow sign was fucking fantastic, but then the Mademoiselle d'Easter, I think it was called, was a little less so. So we'll see where it goes. Hi everybody! I guess. It's been a while since I did a facecam stream. Hi everybody, I am Josephine, as always. No one else right now. I've got Gauntlet Queen here to remind you all that on most occasions I am a VTuber, but right now I'm not. Right now I am simply the real human person. And I like to stream, and when I read a book on stream, I do so with my real face. I didn't do so at first, but like when there's only so much holding a book and flipping the pages in a book that a VTuber, like a 3D VTuber avatar that tries to mimic my hand movements but can't read them because I'm holding a book, can convey. So, and also, I was just looking down at the book mostly, which means my eyes were closed for the VTuber, so I was just sitting there like this, which is not very interesting. So, I got real confident, you know, I got over my anxiety, some anxieties and stuff, and I started doing these with my camera, so here I am, hi. Anything else I wanted to say about that? Yippee! Well, one thing before I forget is we have a new feature, which is that you guys can instantly make a clip now. You know, when you like want to make a clip of the stream, you gotta press a button and then like move the little slider and give it a title. And during this time, you're taken away from the actual stream. Like if you're on mobile, you're just straight up taken away from it. And if you're on PC, it opens in a new tab. But like, you still have to kind of mute the main stream because otherwise you can't hear the clip that you're trying to make or whatever. It's fucking annoying. So now, if you simply do !clip, it creates a clip for you. And it'll even link it in chat because I'm so good at it. Look, there it is. There it goes now. It says thank you, processing clip. And then in about 20 or so seconds, it'll link it in chat if everything goes well. I guess I haven't really tested it on stream yet, but we'll just have to hope that it works. You know? Oh, it worked! Yay! Nice. Okay, fantastic. So now, if there's a part where that you guys, you know, kind of want to bookmark, you know, or you just want to make sure that I have it bookmarked so that I can go back and make a better clip of it later, that's how you can do that. Because if you then go watch the clip and then click underneath the clip on go to full video, you are brought back to that moment in the VOD, and then at your leisure later on after stream or during the break, you can make the edited clip if you want, or just don't, and just leave it there knowing that I will see it and I can then go, oh, that was a funny moment. I will make a proper clip of that. And that would really help me out because, you know, clips are easily shareable. I can, if there's a funny moment that I might want to put on the socials or in the YouTube channel, that's a really good way for me to let me know, hey, I thought this part was funny. I think this would make a great clip. Whatever, you know? Just !clip and then you can make a clip. It's very nice. But yeah, so that's that. I think that's about the stuff that I wanted to talk about before getting to reading. Clipping unfunny moments, awkward moments, bad moments. Well, there's only one way for me to learn from past bad experiences, and that's to know that they were bad. So I suppose in its own way, that's still helpful. Thank you, Bun. Well, you would have stuck in a weird way again, like I'm A-posing. What? I don't see it. All the U-bots seem to be okay. You are standing there. You are just right here. You are just standing here. Right there. Do you want to not be standing there? Ah! You are now no longer just standing there. Try to jump. Well, try. If that doesn't fix it, try doing the stand command. I've seen that sometimes when your Yuba tries to sit, it bugs, so it thinks it's sitting, meaning you can't do other commands, but also you can't stand up. So, well, I don't know anything else. I haven't had a very eventful time recently, I guess. Well, actually, did anybody else watch Severance season finale? Ah, fantastic. So good. And now we have to wait a while. If you haven't seen Severance, it's... Oh god, it's so good. It's got humor, but that's not the main thing. I don't know why I said that first. That's actually weird. I should say that after I've given you more info about it first, which is that it's like... Man, how would you even describe it? I don't really know. It's a mystery and a drama, but it's got a little bit of humor in there also, and it's like really funny. There's one moment in the most recent episode where I'm like, I don't know if this is supposed to be funny, but me and my family, because we're watching it together, it's very cute. We were waffling for real. Oh my god, does Lost but good work? Sure, I guess. I don't know if that's really... I feel like it's not really that much like Lost. It's certainly good. It's got that Lost thing of like asking questions, I guess, but there's a lot more certainty than there is in Lost, and even with things that kind of feel like random strange things like you would have in Lost, and like, oh man, what does this random hole here mean or something? I don't know. It's like, because of the themes in the show, stuff that doesn't necessarily make sense, you can immediately connect to those underlying themes and be like, oh, this is metaphorical. This is like, I immediately understand, or I at least immediately understand what this metaphor is, you know? I get the goat. I get it. I get your gut. I can't wait for this show that everyone loves to end with they were all dead the entire time. That would be insane. That would be such a weird ending to this show. I highly doubt it. That would make no sense at all. Like, that's an ending that you can give to Lost that is the most easiest thing you can come up with for a plot twist, but I guess sure. You can't fucking do that with Severance. Severing actually just kills you. So if you don't know, the basic premise of Severance is this is a world in which there is a company that offers to sever your mind so that you have your outer personality, as in outside of work, and your inner personality, aka when you're at work, when you're inside the work building. These are two different people. So when let's say you get severed, you go to work. The moment you step through the elevator door, you come out the elevator door again, and it's the end of the workday, and you get to go home. So that means your innie, their entire life is at work. And what does that do to someone? And why is this even a thing? And how? And that's it. That's the basic premise of the show, and it is absolutely fantastic. They do crazy good things with it. I really like the... I mean, I don't like the company that does it, but I really like the story of it. It's very strong. And it is also one of those things that I'm not gonna talk about if you don't, for the people that might want to watch it, because anything more would be kind of a spoiler. But it's funny, it's gripping, it's super creative, it has really good use of set design, and its audio is something else. Oh my god. And it keeps surprising you. Like, every new episode, you're just like, well, I know, I get the status quo. And it's like, no, you don't. Especially season 2, they get crazy, like extra crazy in that one. Really, really good. I assume this was enforced. Why would any dipshit ever take that deal? Because you get to have a job you don't have to be conscious for. Exactly. You take the severance job because it means that you never have to work. You don't have to work. There is a different personality inside your brain that only ever exists when you go to work, and they work and you get paid. You don't have to do anything. You have a work-free life essentially. I mean, you do lose a large part of your day, but you kind of already do. And of course, they do also ask, why would someone do this? The main character, for example, has a very... I mean, I don't know if you can call it a good reason or a bad reason. That's kind of up to interpretation, but it's an understandable reason as to why he decided to get severed. Like, it's not just like, oh, this seems nice. This seems like a good time. No, it's like he's got a more complicated reason as to why he decided to sever. That's absolutely horrifying. Also, just as a plot of the movie Click. No, I think we've talked about that before. I don't think it's quite the same, but it is horrifying. It is a scary concept. There's scary stuff in this show. It's not for the faint of heart. But it's very much recommendable. But yeah, it is scary. The show doesn't pretend that it's good. It's meant to be a scary prospect. You are creating a person, right, with full emotions, able to retain memories, not yours, but their own memories, you know. They experience everything they do at work, and that is all they get to experience. You create a person to essentially be a slave in a prison, basically. It's very intentionally a bad thing. I think when I last went to check it out, I saw, oh shit, it's just on Apple TV. I guess I can't, but I want to watch it. Well, there are other methods than buying an Apple TV subscription that you can watch Severance. You know? I wouldn't know what they were, but they exist. And I you know. I don't give a shit about that guy. I care about what he's doing with my body for 9 hours. Bun, everything, every thought you have, every question you have, every hypothetical thing, the show addresses. It's extremely good at it. It is so good at it. Framing it as slavery is a pretty succinct way of pointing out the moral implications here. Yeah, and again, the show doesn't. It's not blind to that. It knows that and addresses it. And again, it doesn't pretend that this is a good thing. It is extremely set up to be a bad thing, but the reasons why it's done, that's where the show is interesting. Anyway, so I can really recommend Severance. It's really good. The second season just finished, so you've got a lot of time now to watch it in your own terms. The premise is putting me off. It's supposed to be a bit off-putting, but I mean, if it doesn't sound like something you would enjoy, then whatever, you know? You don't have to watch it. I loved it when they said it's severing time and started severancing. It's severancing time! And started severancing all over the place. No spoilers! Oh my gosh! But that was also my favorite scene. Now, we're not here to talk about Severance the entire time, because I can't, because I won't want to spoil it for people. So let's first do the redeems, and then we can get to reading. So, let's see, we had a little... can you put Ray on your avatar's fingertips for no particular reason? Certainly. I'm not suspecting anything at all, because why would I? It's a completely innocuous request. There you go. And now we're also going to do the eggs. So if you have but one little point, you can already spend it on an egg, which we're going to put right over here-ish to show our great teamwork. And we're gonna start right about now, with the first egg of the day being KQ Gray, Esteemed Jester, Dynalope, and I'm looking like at the chat as I'm doing this, which is kind of odd. Kira Cat, Lady Ace, Polar Stars, Vex Fidel, Kiva Fox, and Lucky MX13. Thank you guys so much for the eggs. And then I'll just take another sippy. I don't know if that's the same sippy from before. There we go. And now we can start reading The King in Yellow. So for those who don't know it, because you're new to the stream and also haven't played Signalis or otherwise learned about The King in Yellow, The King in Yellow is a horror story written by Robert W. Chambers, right here. Ooh. And also, we've got another sticker. Another ray, perhaps up and a little to the left of the first for no particular reason. What an odd little request, but sure. Does that look good to you? It is a horror story written by...
26 munt is gelijk 2 keer
Why was there
13
no
is
audio
gelijk aan
bite?
2 spooky A.
Did you guys hear it? I didn't hear anything. We did. Oh, In that case, give me just a moment. Strange. Well, should be good now, ideally. As long as you guys heard it. But Vex Fidel, thank you so much for 26 months subscribing. Thank you. It's 2 times 13. Too spooky. Ah! Ow, ow, fuck, ow. Thank you. So, The King in Yellow is a horror anthology written by Robert W. Chambers. Which revolves around, largely anyway, not all of it, but largely around The King in Yellow, which is a stage play, a written stage play that drives anybody who reads it mad, causing them to see things that no mortal was ever meant to see, things from beyond the dead or beyond our very dimension and comprehension. And such like that, things like that. Also, paranoia and things, visions of the future, etc. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. And so each of these stories, or many of these stories anyway, not all of them. Again, some of them just don't have anything to do with the King in Yellow. Are about someone who is going through something in their life. And then they also read The King in Yellow, and that's when shit really goes crazy. Also, hello! Hello, Puff, welcome. Puff Parade, welcome to the stream. Thank you and your viewers so much for rating. Hello! I am a Josephine, usually a VTuber. Not today. Today I'm here reading The King in Yellow to the audience. We're just about to start. Now, if you haven't seen the other streams in this series, that is okay, because it's an anthology. So we read separate stories that can be enjoyed individually. Did you change your name again, Puff? Yeah, I'm like, is that the same Puff I know? Because it's not usually. Yes, it is. Okay, you did change your name again. Hi, Puff! How you doing? Good to see you. What did you guys get up to? Oh, wait, I should, get a different musical track. Something that's a little more suited to Victorian era horror. Trying to make it easier to spell. Well, that's nice of you. I guess pâtissier was a little hard for some people. We're gonna go over here. Sonic Heroes OC still slaps. It fucking does. Sonic Heroes is just good as fuck is the thing about it. Oh, dude, have you guys seen the trailer for the Gaslight District? Like the new animation by Glitch Productions from the Digital Circus and Murder Drones? It looks extremely fucking good. It looks, oh my god. It's so stylized, it's spooky and stuff. I love it. I'll link in the chat so you guys can watch it if you want. It's only just over a minute. But let's see. We had a specific play. Here we go. Although I was also thinking that we could try something a little else. I don't know if this will get caught though. Y'all might remember. Oop, that's white. Y'all might remember the Efteling, something I mention frequently, my favorite theme park, and how it has a spooky area now called the Shiverwood. So they actually have the music from the Shiverwood on YouTube, and it is so good, and I think it's quite fitting for what we're doing here. So like the kind of vibes we're going for. So let's try having that music on and hoping that it doesn't get copyright striked on YouTube. But I've got the track separately, so if like the audio track, it's on a different audio track. So if that happens, then I can just take it out and then replace it with more generic horror ambience. This should be good. The Shiverwood, not to be confused with the Shivwood. Yeah, careful, you're gonna get stabbed. That one's a little bit more stabby. Let's see. So we have the yellow sign. The Demoiselle d'Ys. Oh, I found out that Ys. Okay, so for those of you who weren't here in the last stream, it was a while ago. I don't blame you. The previous story we read, the Demoiselle d'Ys, was about a lady who was actually dead, and she was from Ys. And Ys is, as it turns out, a city from a different story that I forgot what it was. After that stream, I looked it up, and then I forgot again. So let me look it up again. It's a mythical sunken city in Brittany of France. It's a mystical city on the coast of Brittany, which is not to be confused with Great Britain, it's different, that was swallowed up by the ocean. Most versions of the legend place the city in the Baie de... I can't read that. So that gives us a little bit more interesting context to that story, because in that story, someone who is walking in the wilderness of France along the coastline suddenly finds himself in a chateau where there is a Mademoiselle d'Ys, Mademoiselle d'Ys. But it turns out that she was actually already long dead and stuff, and the place where, so like everything he experienced wasn't actually real. So, knowing that Ys is a mythical lost city gives us a little bit more context there, you know? Like, oh, he was kind of like connected to that lost city. It makes it a little bit more interesting, I think. But now we are at the Prophet's Paradise. So here we go. Now I have to get into the real storyteller mood, or setting. I don't know. If but the vine and love, abjuring band, are in the Prophet's Paradise to stand, alack, I doubt the Prophet's Paradise were empty as the hollow of one's hand. If the vine and love, abjuring band, are in the Prophet's Paradise to stand, I doubted the prophet's paradise were empty as the hollow of one's hand. So that is to be a part of... Oh, this is weird. Oh, what the hell? Oh, this is different. So most of this book reads just like any other book, just like this. But then this is the prophet's paradise. Curious? Yeah, the King in Yellow from Lunacid. Isn't that cool that they've made a whole book about it? The studio. He smiled, saying, "Seek her throughout the world." I said, "Why tell me of the world? My world is here, between these walls and a sheet of glass above. Here among gilded flagons and dull jeweled arms, tarnished frames and canvases, black chests and high-backed chairs, quaintly carved and stained in blue and gold. For whom do you wait?" he said, and I answered, "When she comes, I shall know her." On my hearth, a tongue of flame whispered secrets to the whitening ashes. In a street below, I heard footsteps, a voice, and a song. "For whom, then, do you wait?" he said, and I answered, "I shall know her." Footsteps, a voice, and a song in the streets below. And I knew the song, but neither the steps nor the voice. "Fool!" he cried. "The song is the same. The voice and steps have but changed with years." On the hearth, a tongue of flame whispering above the whitening ashes. "Wait no more. They have passed. The steps and the voice in the street below." Then he smiled, saying, "For whom do you wait? Seek her throughout the world." I answered, "My world is here, between these walls and a sheet of glass above. Here among gilded flagons and dull jeweled arms, tarnished frames and canvases, black chests and high-backed chairs, quaintly carved and stained in blue and gold." So I think this is, rather than a specific story, is a collection of poems. They made the game a book about a book which is a play. They made the game into a book which is about a book which is a play. It's a very strong meta-narrative. I love it. Sorry to interrupt, but I just loaded into a Sea of Thieves server and Maple appeared on my ship. For those not informed, Maple is my personal little fox pet in Sea of Thieves. That's weird. Hold on, let's take this one out of the playlist. I think. Well, yeah, I'll take this one out. That's very strange and makes me wonder if we're having some of those stupid login problems again. Earlier today I was having pretty bad Sea of Thieves login problems. I had to like delete some files to get it to work again. It kept saying like, "Oh, you're already logged in," or "The launcher is already going," or whatever the fuck. Well, I guess you get to hang out with Maple now, and we'll see later when I try launching the game again whether or not there's a bigger problem there. Bad news, I moved my ship and she's hovering like in place. She's hanging out. It's just a model. She's hanging out. She's just powerful like that. She can do it. But my character's a witch, so she has to gain some of my powers, you know? Can you place another ray like the last one? Just for fun. Just for fun, of course. I love to have fun. There you go. Maple's just chilling there, unbothered by anything. Yeah, just hanging out. Also, Inksurgeon asks, which book are we reading? This one, The King in Yellow, one of the great cosmic horror books that have influenced, well, just about most cosmic horror writers, including H.P. Lovecraft, but let's not talk about him. It was inspired by Lunacid, that's true. Alright. Currently we're on The Prophet's Paradise, which is looking to be a collection of poems. And here's the next one. The Phantom. The phantom of the past would go no further. If it is true, she sighed, that you find me in a friend, let us turn back together. You will forget, here, under the summer sky. I held her close, pleading, caressing. I seized her, white with anger, but she resisted. If it is true, she sighed, that you'll find me in a friend, let us turn back together. The phantom of the past would go no further. This stuff is a little harder to parse than just like a story about a guy who read a book and went mad. What's going on here? The phantom of the past would go no further. If it is true, she sighed, that you find me in a friend, let us turn back together. You'll forget here, under the summer sky. I held her close, pleading, caressing. I seized her, white with anger, but she resisted. If it is true, she sighed, that you find me in a friend, let us turn back together. The phantom of the past would go no further. So what does she mean with, if it is true that you find me in a friend? Because the first person perspective person, the protagonist here, says, I held her close, pleading, caressing. I seized her, white with anger, but she resisted. So I think they want her. They want her bad. But she doesn't. Right? That's what I think is going on. And so it's like, if it is true that you find in, oh wait, I was reading it, find me in a friend. It's find in me a friend. So I think she's like, let's just be friends. Can we just be friends? Let's just be friends and turn back together. Like just go back to the way things were. Let's just stay friends as before. But the phantom of the past would go no further. This dude can't bear not being together romantically. I think that's what's going on. Which reminds me of a manga I've been reading. A Yuri manga. Whisper Me a Love Song. There's a subplot in it of two characters, one of which is in love with the other, but the other doesn't reciprocate the love. And rather than just be like, well, let's just cherish our friendship, she's just, I guess I will never talk to you ever again, and be a total bitch about it. And the story doesn't necessarily frame this as the bad move, which I don't know. When I'm reading that Yuri, I get a little bit frustrated that they can't just communicate like normal people about it. Anyway, a Knuckles to the left and slightly up from the last raid, just to bug people. I mean, I don't know why it would really bug people. It's not like, I mean, yeah, you've broken the combo of rays, but hey, I mean, I don't know why it was so important for them all to be Ray anyway. Zoe reading about horrors beyond mortal comprehension. Say, this reminds me of a Yuri. Yuri can be found in all aspects of life, and undead, and dead, and things that were never alive in the first place. The Sacrifice. I went into a field of flowers, whose petals are whiter than snow, and whose hearts are pure gold. Far afield, a woman cried, I have killed him I loved! What an odd sentence. And from a jar she poured blood upon the flowers, whose petals are whiter than snow, and whose hearts are pure gold. Far afield I followed, and on the jar I read 1,000 names, while from within the fresh blood bubbled to the brim. I have killed him I loved, she cried. The world's athirst, now let it drink. She passed, and far afield I watched her pouring blood upon the flowers, whose petals are whiter than snow, and whose hearts are pure gold. I don't know if this poetry's for me. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. It's a little... I like a bit of vague sort of storytelling, but I like it with when there is something to grab onto, so that you can look at the vagueness surrounding it. And these poems, I don't know. The earth is hungry, the earth is also thirsty. The earth is hungry is something that would be said in a horror thing, that's definitely true. The world's thirst, now let it drink. Okay, so I've killed him I loved, so is that meant to be taken literally? It's a line from Postal. Wow, I didn't know Postal was horror. Cool. I've killed him I loved, so... Like, that's the phrasing. I have killed him I loved. So, I think that's meant to be like, I have killed the one that I love, but... I don't know, it's a little hard to grasp this part. What do you guys think? Or this poem, I mean. It's a dude. He's in a field of flowers. Maybe I just like don't have the brain for this type of writing. No punctuation? No punctuation. I have killed him I loved! Exclamation point. That's it. Just those 6 words. Like okay, so she is grieving over hurting someone close to her, presumably a lover. And she has a jar from which she is pouring blood onto flowers whose petals are whiter than snow and whose hearts are pure of gold. So I'm guessing she has killed someone she loved and she regrets it. I don't think it's literal. I think what it is, I mean, she's hurt someone she might have killed. She's hurt someone she loves, and she is, like staining the world with her grief. Because there are flowers that are whiter than snow and whose hearts are pure gold. So it's like... Those could be like a metaphor for... young maidens or children or something, you know? And so... And she is... having a bad influence on them? I don't know. I like flowery writing more than I do just isolated poetry, I think. She sounds like she needs some bitches, that's for sure. Aw, darn, aw, jeez. I totally fucked up, man. I really fucked up this time. Blood on the flowers. Yeah, flowery writing, yeah. Might meant to be read with a slight pause between killed and him. I have killed him I loved. That could be the case. You could even say it's like... You could say that him kind of does double duty in this poem. I have killed him I loved, right? I think that's how it's meant to be read. It's like, I have killed him I loved. I've killed he who I loved, right? Like, I have killed him who I loved. It's just... It's a strange way of phrasing it because... I've never seen a sentence structure like that, and it's not like anything else in the poem is written in such a way. So that's a bit odd. I think in any case, it's very much a thing of like, I have hurt someone close to me, and my grief is affecting the world around me, is sullying it. You know, robbing it of its purity with the way I now see the world and such. I'm reading it as a circle of violence thing. She's killed her husband or the love she had for him, and the blood is pouring onto the innocent children or people around them. Yeah, something like that. Yes. It's, yeah, like a circle of violence type of situation. That's also what I'm feeling. Cool. We've done it. Next. Destiny. I came to the bridge which few may pass. Pass! Cried to the keeper, but I laughed, saying, there is time. And he smiled and shut the gates. To the bridge which few may pass came young and old. All were refused. Idly I stood and counted them, until, wearied of their noise and lamentations, I came again to the bridge which few may pass. Those in the throng about the gates shrieked out, he comes too late! But I laughed, saying, there is time. Pass, pass, cried the keeper as I entered, then smiled and shut the gates. This is about heaven. I think this is to be about heaven. That's probably the easiest way to read that. Although I don't know why you would be too late to enter heaven. I came to the bridge which few may pass. Pass, cried the keeper, but I laughed, saying, there is time. And he smiled and shut the gates. To the bridge which few may pass came young and old. All were refused. Idly I stood and counted them, until, wearied of their noise and lamentations, I came again to the bridge which few may pass. Those in the throng about the gates shrieked out, he comes too late, but I laughed, saying, there is time. Pass, cried the keeper as I entered, then smiled and shut the gates. I came to the bridge which few may pass. Gandalf was there. Gandalf the White. Gandalf the Grey. Every single Power Ranger. I forgot the rest. I think this poem is about how the protagonist is the specialist little guy, and he gets to cross the gate, and everybody else is so proud of him for it. That's what I'm thinking. Dude, oh man, the one after this one has a great name. I can't wait. Oh, how odd. It seems close proximity to you is turning the race into Knuckles. Knocks a little up and to the left in the last one. Nice. Interesting properties here. They must be further studied, I think. The throng. There, where the throng was thickest in the street, I stood with Pierrot. All eyes were turned on me. I'm glad the French thing is still around. A lot of French in this book. What are they laughing at? I asked, but he grinned, dusting the chalk from my black cloak. I cannot see. It must be something droll, perhaps an honest thief. All eyes were turned on me. He has robbed you of your purse, they laughed. My purse, I cried. Pierrot, help! It is a thief! They laughed. He has robbed you of your purse! The Truth stepped out. Oh, then Truth, capital T, stepped out, holding a mirror. If he is an honest thief, cried Truth, Pierrot shall find him with this mirror. But he only grinned, dusting the chalk from my black cloak. You see, he said, Truth is an honest thief. She brings you back your mirror. All eyes were turned on me. Arrest Truth, I cried, forgetting it was not a mirror but a purse I lost. Standing with Pierrot there, where the throng was thickest in the street. What the fuck is going on in this one? This feels like a shitpost. Pierrot is also like often like a name of like a jester type character, I believe, which I'm sure holds relevance here. There where the throng was thickest in the street, I stood with Pierrot. All eyes were turned on me. Moral of the story, I forgot. What are they laughing at? I asked, but he grinned, dusting the chalk from my black cloak. You cannot see, it must be something droll, perhaps an honest thief. So I feel like that Pierrot, when dusting the chalk off of the protagonist's black cloak, is stealing the purse, right? Like Pierrot is the thief. I cannot see, it must be something droll, perhaps an honest thief. All eyes were turned on me. He has robbed you of your purse, they laughed. My purse, I cried. Pierrot, help! It is a thief! So he has robbed you, Pierrot, like everybody's like, haha, couldn't even tell that his friend is robbing him, haha. They laughed, he has robbed your purse. Then Truth stepped out, holding a mirror. If he is an honest thief, cried Truth, Pierrot shall find him with this mirror. But he only grinned, dusting the chalk off my black cloak, stealing more stuff, I guess? You see, he said, Truth is an honest thief. She brings you back your mirror. Okay, so he's saying like, see, it's Truth who stole from you because she's returning your mirror to you. But earlier the crowd was saying he has robbed you of your purse, so it's not her, so it's Pierrot. I figured it out, we solved the puzzle, I guess? Was this meant to be a puzzle? Sure, I guess. I think it's meant to be funny. I think this one's just meant to be a little bit funny. I like that Truth is a character who stepped out, like out of the crowd, I assume. But it sounds like Truth just stepped out of nothing, which of course Truth can do, because truth is but a concept. But now for the Jester. Was she fair? I asked. But he only chuckled, listening to the bells jingling on his cap. Stabbed, he tittered, thinking of the long journey, the days of peril, the dreadful nights. Think how he wandered for her sake, year after year, through hostile lands, yearning for kith and kin, yearning for her. Stabbed, he tithered, listening to the bells jingling on his cap. Was she fair? I asked, but he only snarled, muttering to the bells jingling on his cap. She kissed him at the gate, he tittered, but in the hall his brother's welcome touched his heart. Was she fair? I asked. Stabbed, he chuckled. Think of the long journey, the days of peril, the dreadful nights. Think how he wandered for her sake, year after year through hostile lands, yearning for kith and kin, yearning for her. She kissed him at the gate, but in the hall his brother's welcome touched his heart. What? Oh! Hello, Lemony Lepid. Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome, everybody. Hello. I am Josephine. I'm hanging out. I'm usually a VTuber, as you can see right here. But for book nukes, such as this one, I appear on camera because it's just a bit nicer when reading a book. Ooh, Scary Alien. Were you guys playing some sort of terrifying alien game, such as Alien? I hope you guys had a good time with that, or something else. If it was something else, do tell. Hi, I just got here. Hope no scary goth girls come out of the ominous stream and comes reads to me. I'm gonna do a ring at you. I'm gonna do the ring. Oh, you were playing Alien Isolation. Nice. The King in Yellow. Nice. It is nice. Although we are currently at the Prophet's Paradise, which is a collection of poems, and they're certainly nicely written, but I must confess, maybe not as much my speed as a more cohesive horror story. But it is nice. We're kind of trying to decipher them a little bit. These poems suck. Can we get back to dipshits reading a book and being so dumb that they go mad? I do... Let's see, how much more is there? Oh, there's only 4 more, so it's fine. We only got a few more to go. Actually 3, but we have to... Okay, so the Jester... I'll read it again. I'll read from the start for all the raiders. We're gonna read the Jester again. Was she fair? I asked, but he only chuckled, listening to the bells jingling on his cap. Stabbed, he tittered. Think of the long journey, the days of peril, the dreadful nights. Think how he wandered, for her sake, year after year, through hostile land, learning for kith and kin, yearning for her. Stabbed, he tittered, listening to bells jingling on his cap. Was she fair? I asked, but he only snarled, muttering to the bells jingling on his cap. She kissed him at the gate, he tittered, but in the hall his brother's welcome touched his heart. Was she fair? I asked. Stabbed, he chuckled. Think of the long journey, the days of peril, the dreadful nights. Think how he wandered for her sake, year after year through hostile lands, yearning for kith and kin, yearning for her. She kissed him at the gate, but in the hall his brother's welcome touched his heart. Was she fair? I asked, but he only snarled, listening to the bells jingling in his cap. Like, I don't super get these. They are so, like, each of these short stories that's in here in this anthology is like its own thing, but they have the same vibes, and then you come to these poems and they're just completely different, and I have to decipher them way more, and I don't think I'm very good at that. Simulating the madness the characters are experiencing. Yeah. That's certainly true. I mean, finding a good version of the King in Yellow now is already madness-inducing, so they do that pretty well, I guess. See, on the one hand, that'd be kind of cool if you did The Ring to me, because then I could show you my amiibo collection. But also, I feel like your flight back home would be really expensive. I would just do The Ring back to my own house. I would just call someone to go sit in my room, and then I could do a ring on them. It's fine. See, like, Sadako saves a lot on travel costs by just ringing at people. She's like, ring, ring, and then they're like, ha, 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 ah! You know? This jester is not assisting with the investigation, so I think he did the murder. Is there a murder? I mean... Wait, is that what the stabbed part means? Because I was thinking the stabbed must mean something else, right? Does the stabbed mean that she's dead? You can't just do the ring on someone, you have to follow protocol. You can do it. There's no cops around. It has to be someone who's scared. I would scare them I would send them like a picture of Jeff the Killer and it would be so scared. Okay, so... You're saying that someone got stabbed. He does keep saying stabbed, and I am wondering about that, if that means... So, like, was she... Okay, because, like, if the question is... If the stabbed part means she got stabbed, then the question, is she fair, would logically mean, is she okay? And then the jester says she got stabbed. So then, at that point, why do you keep asking, is she okay? Because she got stabbed. Right? So I feel like stabbed must mean something else in this context, although I don't know what, obviously. I think the dude traveled for years to see a girl, kissed her at the gate, but was then stabbed by her brothers? Fair meaning okay, as well as fair meaning white from blood. Do you think that's what it means in this instance? And... okay, I think the dude traveling for years to see a girl kissed her at the gate, but was then stabbed by her brothers. No, I don't think so, because the only mention of brothers is she kissed him at the gate, but in the hall, his brother's welcome touched his heart. So it's like, she went off on a journey of some sort, and then her lover said goodbye to her, and then went back into the hall of the castle or estate or whatever, probably castle because there's a jester. And his brother was there, and he comforted him. Yo, he transed. And who's the protagonist in all this? I really don't get this one. I don't understand this one, I'm afraid. And triple space, thank you for the egg. There we go. Thank you. It's your birthday! Happy birthday! Everybody, wish Triple a happy birthday now! For that, I'm going to... let's see, here you are. You get to hang right here for your birthday. Happy birthday! Let's just move on from this one. Oh wait, hold on. Says Zoe the rings out of your TV and asks, okay, so like, did someone get murdered in that King in Yellow story? Or was it just a metaphor? Because I don't get it. That's just how I meet new people now. I just ask them about this one poem. The next one is The Green Room, which of course is the thing at like conventions or whatever, I think. It's where like the celebs go. They had to hang out or something. Excuse me. Dude, awesome first 2 words for The Green Room. The clown turned his powdered face to the mirror. If to be fair is to hold on, how do you clown voice again? I'm a clown. I'm a clown. There we go. If to be fair is to be beautiful, he said. Who can compare with me in my white mask? Who can compare with him in his white mask? I asked of Death beside me. Who can compare with me? Said Death. For I am paler still. You are very beautiful, sighed the clown, turning his powdered face from the mirror. What the fuck is this one? What? This almost feels like a fucking... This feels like a Simpsons gag, or what's the other one called? A Family Guy gag. You know, where it's like, there's a clown and he said something, and then Death is there too, and he's like, I'm more white. It's like, what? Dude, this book is on some goofy shit right now. It feels steeped in cultural context. I mean, I guess so. I mean, you know, this was like the era of like, oh, you gotta powder up so much to make your skin as pale as possible, so then a clown which has white makeup is more fair, I guess. Okay, here is one way that I can... I also think it's really funny that there's also a protagonist. Like, it's like, you could have just had the clown and Death, but no, the writer has to be there also to ask Death a question. Okay, here's how you could be reading this, right? Okay, so powdering your face a lot. I mean, I'm doing it right now. I'm not powdering, but like makeup and stuff. It is the pursuit of beauty, right? The eternal pursuit of some level of perfection. And as we all know, you will never get perfection. Don't try, you know? So you could argue that the clown saying, if to be fair is to be beautiful, we can compare with my white mask, is like, clowns are silly, dumb, to be laughed at. It is laughable to even try to attain perfection, right? And for Death to be paler still, so like, who can compare with me? I am paler still. It's like, perfection cannot be reached. It is something you will chase until death, right? That is one way you could read this one, I think. And then indeed, the clown says, "You are very beautiful," sighed the clown, turning his powdered face from the mirror. Assuming he sees Death, right? Like all these 3 characters are in the same situation together. He sees Death, sees perfection he has still not yet reached, and thus turns his face away from the mirror, not wanting to look at his lack of perfection. I think that's one way you could read this one. I actually think that's my favorite one so far, because I think I actually can extract a very good meaning from it. Good job, me. The love test. If it is true that you love, said Love, capital L, then wait no longer. Give her these jewels, which would dishonor her and so dishonor you in loving one dishonored. If it is true that you love, said Love, then wait no longer. I took the jewels and went to her, but she trod upon them, sobbing, "Teach me to wait. I love you." Then wait, if it is true, said love. So, if it is true that you love, said love, then wait no longer. Give her these jewels, which would dishonor her, and so dishonor you in loving one dishonored. So, if it is true that you love, said love, then wait no longer. So, the first thing that comes to mind is you shouldn't miss your chance, you know? If you love someone, you should go for it, you know? Confess, get your feelings out there. If you never try, you never succeed. But then what? And that's fine enough, I suppose. But then it's like, give her these jewels, which would dishonor her, and so dishonor you in loving one dishonored. So what? If you love her, you should give her something she doesn't like? I don't understand that part. And then, of course, she doesn't accept the jewels, cries, and says, teach me to wait. I love you. Is she saying, like, I want you to play hard to get? This one's kind of stupid. I love the green room. The green room was good. It was very silly, but I could very much the green one was great because it reads at first sight so stupid. But then I did actually get a meaning out of it. And maybe that's not even the intended meaning. Maybe it is meant to just be a weird, lol, so random poem. But I did get something out of it. And I'm not really getting anything out of the love test here. You're right. These poems are a bit naff. Naff? That's a fun word. I guess Robert W. Chambers was better at writing short stories than it was at short poems. Might not be romantic love? No, I don't think so, because she says, I love you. Naff is UK slang for not good. I kind of got that, yeah. That's a fun one. Maybe the poem could be read as being about, like, different people look for different things in a relationship. I don't know. Whatever. And then the last one is in French. So we're skipping that. No, it has annotations. Half close your eyes, fold your arms across your breast, and from your heart now lulled to rest, banish forever all intent. This is the third stanza of the poem "En Sourdine" by Paul Verlaine, who lived from 1944 to 1996, or 1844 to 1896, I mean. A French poet associated with the Decadent movement. He is considered one of the greatest representatives of the fin de siècle in international and French poetry. The poem was first published in the magazines Les Artistes in July of 1868 and was subsequently included in the full edition of Verlaine's Fêtes Galantes, which appeared in the following year. It has been set to music many times, most notably by Claude Debussy, Gabriel Fauré, and Reynaldo Hahn. Half close your eyes, fold your arms across your breast, and from your hearth now lulled to rest, banish forever all intent. Chill. I think that's what it means. Chill. Just chill. Chill. And then the second one is, I sing nature, the evening stars, the morning tears, the sunsets in the distant horizon, the sky that speaks to the heart of future existence. I like that one because I do love nature very much, and it's straightforward. It's just, I love nature, I love the stars, I love when there's dew in the morning, I love a nice sunset, I love the sky, I love nature, it's nice, it's good. That one's nice. See Chambers, it doesn't all have to be like weird maybe metaphors. You could just be like, I like nature, it's nice. And luckily we're now done with all the poems. Now we can start reading The Street of the Four Winds, which I believe is 10 pages. Is less than 10 pages, even. Alright. Here we go. The animal paused on the threshold, interrogative, alert, ready for flight if necessary. Severn laid down his pallet and held out a hand of welcome. The cat remained motionless, her yellow eyes fastened upon Severn. We got another artist! You all know it. Victorian, like gothic horror. The protagonist is almost always a tortured artist. Let's go! Puss, he said in his low, pleasant voice, come in. The tip of her thin tail twitched uncertainly. Come in, he said again. Apparently she found his voice reassuring, for she slowly settled upon all fours, her eyes still fastened upon him, her tail tucked under her gaunt flanks. He rose from his easel smiling. She eyed him quietly, and when he walked toward her, she watched him bend above her without a wince. Her eyes followed his hand until it touched her head. Then she uttered a ragged meow. It had long been Severn's custom to converse with animals, probably because he lived so much alone, and now he said, "What's the matter, Puss?" Her timid eyes sought his. "I understand," he said gently. "You shall have it at once." Then, moving quietly about, he busied himself with the duties of a host, rinsed a saucer, filled it with the rest of the milk from the bottle on the windowsill, and kneeled down, crumbling a roll into the hollow of his hand. The creature rose and crept towards the saucer. With the handle of a palette knife, he stirred the crumbs and milk together and stepped back as she thrust her nose into the mess. He watched her in silence. From time to time, the saucer clinked upon the tiled floor as she reached for a morsel on the rim. And at last the bread was all gone, and her purple tongue... It's so fun that kids have purple tongues, it's very fun. And her purple tongue traveled over every unlicked spot until the saucer shone like polished marble. Then she sat up, and coolly turning her back to him, began her ablutions. That means cleaning, I do believe, if I remember correctly. Hi boss, thanks for reading us bedtime stories. Happy to help. Someone's gotta do it. Zero Elec, thank you for your egg. And Inksterton, thank you for the sippy. How are we liking this music also? Do let me know if it ends up being a bit repetitive, because there's only so many tracks on the Efteling Shiverwood soundtrack. Keep it up, said Severn, much interested. You need it. She flattened one ear, but neither turned nor interrupted her toilet. I think that's meant as a verb, not as she's going to the toilet. But maybe. As the grime was slowly removed, Severn observed that nature had intended her for a white cat. Her fur had disappeared into patches from disease or the chances of war. Her tail was bony and her spine sharp. But what charms she had were becoming apparent under vigorous licking, and he waited until she had finished before reopening the conversation. When at last she closed her eyes and folded her forepaws under her breast, he began again very gently. Puss, tell me your troubles. At the sound of his voice, she broke into a harsh rumbling, which he recognized as an attempt to purr. He bent over to rub her cheek, and she mewed again, an amiable, inquiring little mew, to which he replied, "Certainly, you are greatly improved, and when you recover your plumage, you will be a gorgeous bird." Much flattered, she stood up and marched around and around his legs, pushing her head between them and making pleased remarks, to which he responded with grave politeness. This is a very nice story so far. I like this. It's just a story about being nice to a cat. I hope the cat doesn't turn out to be a monster or something. Or the devil, or death. Or maybe he will turn out to be death. "Now, what sent you here?" he said. "Here into the street of the Four Winds, and up 5 flights to the very door where you would be welcome. What was it that prevented your immediate meditated flight when I turned from my canvas to encounter your yellow eyes? Are you a Latin Quarter cat, as I am a Latin Quarter man? And why do you wear a rose-colored flowered garter buckled around your neck?" The cat had climbed onto his lap, and now sat purring as he passed his hand over her thin coat. I bet the excuse me. I bet the cat read The King in Yellow. That's why it's able to understand him. How peculiar. It seems even Knuckles isn't immune to transmutation. Metal knocks a little up and to the left of Knuckles. Robot mention! Let's go! Now, I do have to say, these Sonic stickers are getting awfully close to my face. I hope you'll hope that won't be an issue at any point. I'd hate to get in the way. "Excuse me," he continued in lazy, soothing tones, harmonizing with her purring, "if I seem indelicate, but I cannot help musing on this rose-colored garter, flowered so quaintly and fastened with a silver clasp. For the clasp is silver, I can see the mint mark on the edge, as is prescribed by the law of the French Republic. Now, why is this garter woven of rose silk and delicately embroidered? Why is this silken garter with its silver clasp about your famished throat? Am I indiscreet when I inquire if its owner is your owner? Is she some aged dame living in memory of youthful vanities, fond, doting on you, decorating you with her intimate personal attire? The circumstances of the garter would suggest this, for your neck is thin and the garter fits you. But then again, I notice most things that the garter is capable of being much enlarged. These small silver-rimmed eyelets, of which I count 5, are proof of that. And now I observe that the 5th eyelet is worn out, as though the tongue of the clasp were accustomed to lie there. That seems to argue a well-rounded form. Dude, fuck, this dude is Sherlock Holmes. What's going on? The cat curled her toes in contentment. The street was very still outside. He murmured on, "Why would your mistress decorate you with an article most necessary to her at all times? Anyway, at most times, how did she come to slip this bit of silk and silver about your neck? Was it the caprice of a moment, when you, before you had lost your pristine plumpness, marched singing into her bedroom to bid her good morning? Of course, and she sat up among the pillows, her coiled hair tumbling to her shoulders, as you sprang upon the bed, purring, 'Good day, my lady!' Oh, it is very easy to understand." He yawned, resting his head on the back of the chair. The cat still purred, tightening and relaxing her padded claws over his knee. "So, shall I tell you all about her, cat? She's very beautiful, your mistress," he murmured drowsily, "and her hair is heavy as burnished gold. I could paint her, not on canvas, for I should need shades and tones and hues and dyes more splendid than the iris of a splendid rainbow. I could only paint her with closed eyes, for in dreams alone can such colors as I need be found. For her eyes I must have azure from the skies, untroubled by a cloud, the skies of dreamland. For her lips, roses from the palaces of slumberland. And for her brow, snowdrifts from mountains, which tower in fantastic pinnacles to the moons. Oh, much higher than our moon here, the crystal moons of dreamland. She is very beautiful, your mistress." The words died on his lips, and his eyelids drooped. The cat, too, was asleep, her cheek turned up upon her wasted flank, her paws relaxed and limp. That's chapter 1. This one has chapters. That's always fun. Also, hello, Noah the Jackal. Welcome. Let's see. I think it's just the 2 chapters for this one. Yes. So, we're halfway through the chapter, or the story, and it's just beautiful. It's just very nice. It's being nice to a cat. It's complimenting a lady real well, using very fancy language. Just a man being real kind to a cat, and such. I feel like this one's just not gonna be scary, you know? Like, the idea of... I feel like the idea of an almost jump scare, like, plot twist, scary ending, or like a scary twist, I feel like that wasn't so much a thing yet, you know? Like, certainly there have been twists in these stories so far, such as it was death all along, but it was scary all the way through. It was building up to it. This isn't doing it at all. I don't think it's gonna. I think this one's just nice, which is... I mean, it's not what I came to this book for, the King in Yellow. For those who don't know yet what we're reading, I don't know if did I put it in the title? I don't think I did. I should probably put that in the title so people know what we're reading. There we go. It's not what I came to this book for, but I like the story, so I guess I don't mind. Now, chapter 2. It is fortunate, said Severn, sitting up and stretching, that we have tided over the dinner hour, for I have nothing to offer you for supper but what may be purchased with 1 silver franc, which is a type of currency that was used in France. The cat on his knee rose, arched her back, yawned and looked up at him. What shall it be? A roast chicken with salad? No? Possibly you prefer beef? Of course. And I shall try an egg and some white bread. Now, for the wines. Milk for you? Good. I shall take a little water, fresh from the wood. With a motion toward the bucket in the sink, he put on his hat and left the room. The cat followed to the door, and after he had closed it behind him, she settled down, smelling at the cracks, and cocking one ear at every creak from the crazy old building. The door below opened and shut. The cat looked serious, for a moment doubtful, and her ears flattened into nervous expectation. Presently she rose with a jerk of her tail, and started on a noiseless tour of the studio. She sneezed at a pot of turpentine, hastily retreating to the table, which she presently mounted, and having satisfied her curiosity concerning a roll of red modeling wax, returned to the door and sat down with her eyes on the crack over the threshold. Then she lifted her voice in a thin plaint. When Severn returned, he looked grave, but the cat, joyous and demonstrative, marched around him, rubbing her gaunt body against his legs, driving her head enthusiastically into his hand, and purring until her voice amounted to a squeal. He placed a bit of meat, wrapped in brown paper, upon the table, and with a penknife cut it into shreds. The milk he took from a bottle which had served for medicine, and poured it into the saucer on the hearth. The cat crouched before it, purring and lapping at the same time. He cooked his egg and ate it with a slice of bread, watching her busy with the shredded meat, and when he had finished, and had filled and emptied a cup of water from the bucket in the sink, he sat down, taking her into his lap, where she at once curled up and began her toilet. Again, that is to say, she's cleaning herself, she's grooming herself, she's not going to a toilet. It's old language. And imagine a country being so narcissistic as to name a whole currency after itself, Lamau. I mean, the euro is named after Europe, although there it's not. It's a sense of unity, I think. You know, like everybody in Europe uses the same currency because we're all European together. So I think then it's okay. He began to speak again, touching her touching her caressingly at times by way of emphasis. Cat, I have found out where your mistress lives. It is not very far away. It is here, under the same leaky roof, but in a north wing, which I had supposed was uninhabited. Oh, maybe it is gonna be scary. Ooh. A ghost lady? It was a cat? My janitor tells me this. By chance, he is almost sober this evening. The butcher on the Rue de Seine, where I bought your meat, Seine being the river that flows through the Paris, and also other parts of France, obviously, but it's most famous for going through Paris. The butcher on the Rue de Seine, where I bought your meat, knows you, and old Caban, the baker, identified you with needless sarcasm. They tell me, I like that, needless sarcasm, like I didn't have to be a dick about it. Just asking a question. They tell me hard tales of your mistress, which I shall not believe. They say she is idle and vain and pleasure-loving. They say she is harebrained and reckless. The little sculptor on the ground floor who was buying rolls from old Caban spoke to me tonight for the first time, although we have always bowed to each other. He said she was very good and very beautiful. He had only seen her once and does not know her name. I thanked him. I don't know why I thanked him so warmly. Caban said, "Into this cursed street of the four winds blow all things evil." Oh man, gang, I think it is gonna be scary still. Unless with evil they're just meaning like she likes sex. Which, that's fine. The sculptor looked confused, but when he went out with his rolls, he said to me, "I am sure, monsieur, that she is as good as she is beautiful." The cat had finished her toilet, and now, springing softly to the floor, went to the door and sniffed. He knelt beside her, and unclasping the garter, held it for a moment in his hands. Actually, this is also one of the first stories. Maybe the first one that's like told from the third-person perspective. Haven't all the other ones been first person? I think so. I think like every other story up to this point has been first person. That's certainly interesting. He knelt beside her and unclasping the garter held it for a moment in his hands. After a while he said, "There is a name engraved upon the silver clasp beneath the buckle. It is a pretty name, Sylvia Elven. Sylvia is a woman's name, Elven is the name of a town. In Paris, in this quarter, above all, in this street of the four winds, names are worn and put away as the fashions change with the seasons." Queer. I know the little town of Elven, for there I met fate face to face, and fate was unkind. But do you know that in Elven, fate had another name, and that name was Sylvia? He replaced the garter and stood up, looking down at the cat crouched before the closed door. I wonder also if the Street of the Four Winds is a real place in Paris. That's me saying that out loud, obviously. He replaced the garter and stood up, looking down at the cat crouched before the closed door. The name of Elven has a charm for me. It tells me of meadows and clear rivers. The name of Sylvia troubles me, like perfume from dead flowers. The cat meowed. Yes, yes, he said soothingly. I will take you back. Your Sylvia is not my Sylvia. The world is wide and Elven is not unknown. Yet in the darkness and filth of poorer Paris, in the sad shadows of this ancient house, these names are very pleasant to me. He lifted her in his arms and strode through the silent corridors to the stairs, down 5 flights and into the moonlit court, past the little sculptor's den, and then again in at the gate of the north wing, and up the worm-eaten stairs he passed, until he came to a closed door, where he had stood knocking for a long time, or when he had stood knocking for a long time, something moved behind the door. It opened, and he went in. The room was dark. As he crossed the threshold, the cat sprang from his arms into the shadows. He listened but heard nothing. The silence was oppressive and struck a match. Oh, and he struck a match, huh? At his elbow stood a table, and on the table a candle in a gilded candlestick. This he lighted, then looked around. The chamber was vast, the hangings heavy with embroidery. Over the fireplace towered a carved mantel, grey with the ashes of dead fires. In a recess by the deep-set windows stood a bed, from which the bedclothes, soft and fine as lace, trailed to the polished floor. He lifted the candle above his head. A handkerchief lay at his feet. It was faintly perfumed. He turned toward the windows. In front of them was a canopy. In this context, a elegant upholstered couch or sofa made of elaborately carved wood, and over it were flung pell-mell. What does pell-mell mean? You give me an annotation for canopy, but not for pell-mell? Pell-mell. In a jumbled, confused manner. Helter-skelter. Okay. You learn something new every day. Pell-mell. That's cute. In front of them was a canopy, and over it were flung, pell-mell, a gown of silk, a heap of lace-like garments, white and delicate as spider's meshes, long, crumpled gloves, and on the floor beneath, the stockings, the little pointed shoes, and one garter of rosy silk, quaintly flowered and fitted with a silver clasp. Wondering, he stepped forward and drew the heavy curtains from the bed. For a moment, the candle flared in his hand, then his eyes met two other eyes, wide open, smiling, and the candle flame flashed over hair heavy as gold. She was pale, but not as white as he. Her eyes were untroubled as a child's, but he stared, trembling from head to foot, while the candle flickered in his hand. At last he whispered, "Sylvia, it is I." Again he said, "It is I." Then, knowing that she was dead, he kissed her on the mouth, and through the long watches of the night, the cat purred on his knee, tightening and relaxing her petted claws, until the sky paled above the street of the four winds. I guess it did get a little bit scary. Just a bit. So... damn, that must suck, actually. So what happened was, this dude was in love with a woman that he met somewhere else, but it didn't work out, and then he moved here, and it turns out that the woman he loved had been living in that same building for who knows how long at this point. And he never knew. He had all these, he could have had so much time with her. And when he finally finds her, it's when she's already dead. But at least he got a cat out of it. So that's something. Let's see, so... I know the little town of Elven. For there I met Fate, face to face, and Fate was unkind. But do you know that in Elven, Fate had another name, and that name was Sylvia? So he met Sylvia face to face, and Sylvia was unkind. I guess? But he still loved her? Still loves a bad girl, I guess. That was alright. I liked it. I liked it well enough. Yeah, I guess the horror and sorrow really is just like knowing that she was, finding out that she was there the entire time, but only finds out when she's dead. Oh, that's a nice short one. Now the next one is... way longer. Oh my god. It's... that is so much. Oh my god, that is... I thought these were supposed to be... I mean, it's still a short story, but that is definitely, like, the longest one we've had. It appears to have, like, what, 5 chapters? 4 chapters. Thanks for the clip. I gotta, hold on a second. I'm gonna reduce the frequency of the clip reminder, I think. Okay, so this one's, pretty long. But we'll read it today. Where is this one? Clip reminder. There we go. It used to be every 10 minutes, now we'll make it every 20 minutes. Now the next one is actually also about a street, which is interesting. It is called The Street of the First Shell. But first we have a bit of a poem thing. Also interesting about this is that, so this is The King in Yellow. It is about The King in Yellow, which is a written play. And the first, earlier on in the book, every story was preceded with a passage from The King in Yellow. But they've stopped doing that, which is very interesting. I wonder why. This one starts with a quatrain attributed to the... Can't read that. Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Be of good cheer, the sullen month will die, and a young moon recruit us by and by. Look how the old one, meager, bend, and one with age and fast is fainting from the sky. So it's about the cycles of the month, I guess. Bad times will pass you by, and new, better ones will arise, I think. So I'm reading that. I'm causing problems and breaking the pattern. Tilsdale is added to the gauntlet beam. It's a beam? I didn't know. What? You guys are shooting a beam at me. I'm being beamed at? Fuck. How could you do this to me? Have I not always been good and gracious for you all? But no worries, I'm not deterred. I will continue reading for you, starting with the street of the, or continuing with the street of the first shell. The room was already dark. The high roofs opposite cut off what little remained of the December daylight. The girl drew her chair nearer the window, and choosing a large needle, threaded it, knotting the thread over her fingers. Then she smoothed the baby garment across her knees, and bending, bit off the thread and drew the smaller needle from where it rested on the hem. When she had brushed away the stray threads and bits of lace, she laid it again over her knees caressingly. Then she slipped the threaded needle from her corsage and passed it through a button. But as the button spun down the thread, her hand faltered, the thread snapped, and the button rolled across the floor. She raised her head. Her eyes were fixed on a strip of a waning light above the chimneys. From somewhere in the city came sounds like the distant beating of drums, and beyond, far beyond, a vague muttering, now growing, swelling, rumbling in the distance, like the pounding of surf upon the rocks. Now, like the surf again, receding, growling, menacing. The cold had become intense, a bitter, piercing cold which strained and snapped at a joist and beam, and turned the slush of yesterday to flint. From the street below, every sound broke sharp and metallic. The clatter of sabots, in this context, shoes carved out of wood, similar in style to clogs, and traditionally worn in some parts of Europe. Wow, clogs are traditionally associated with the Netherlands, even though I've never seen anybody in my fucking life actually wear them, except for the novelty of it. Still remembering that time I had a Tilsdale sticker put on Katie's during a collab and her computer immediately crashed. Oh my god. I vaguely remember that. Good job on that. Let's try not to do that again. The clatter of sabots, the rattle of shutters, and the rare sound of a human voice. The air was heavy, weighted with a black cold as with a pall. To breathe was painful. To move, an effort. So does this one have a girl as protagonist? That'd be nice. In the desolate sky, there was something that wearied. In the brooding clouds, something that saddened. It penetrated the freezing city cut by the freezing river. The splendid city with its towers and domes, its quays and bridges, and its 1,000 spires. It entered the squares. It seized the avenues and the palaces, stole across bridges, and crept among the narrow streets of the Latin Quarter, grey under the grey of the December sky. Sadness. Utter sadness. A fine, icy sleet was falling, powdering the pavement with a tiny crystalline dust. It sifted against the window panes and drifted in heaps along the sill. The light in the window had nearly failed, and the girl bent low over her work. Presently, she raised her head, brushing the curls from her eyes. "Jack? Dearest? Don't forget to clean your palette." Oh, dude, another tortured artist. Let's go. Why is that like the only protagonist I can think of? Like, it's so many of these stories are tortured artists. Fucking The Raven, you know, the famous poem, quotes the Raven, Nevermore, Edgar Allan Poe, tortured artist. It's always just gonna be a tortured artist. Come on. He said, "All right," and picking up the palette, sat down upon the floor in front of the stove. His head and shoulders were in the shadow, but the firelight fell across his knees and glimmered red on the blade of the palette knife. Full in the firelight, beside him stood a color box. On the lid was carved J. Trent, École des Beaux-Arts, 1870. This inscription was ornamented with an American and a French flag. And now I'm gonna do... Wait, how did I get here? Egg? Thank you. Gauntlet Queen reach Yellow King. Dude, I should make a gothic cosmic horror alt called Yellow Queen. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, Space Junk, thank you as well for your egg. There we go. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. The sleet blew against...
Orders! Fucking shit!
Nice. The sleet blew against the window panes, covering them with stars and diamonds. Then, melting from the warmer air within, ran down and froze again in fern-like traceries. A tracery being an ornamental pattern of interlaced and branching lines commonly seen in the upper portion of Gothic windows. I gotta remember what those are called. Oh yeah, you got me very good. Absolutely, you did. A dog whined, and the patter of small paws sounded on the sink behind the stove. "Jack, dear, do you think Hercules is hungry?" The patter of paws was redoubled behind the stove. "He's whining," she continued nervously. "And if it isn't because he's hungry, it is because..." Her voice faltered. A loud humming filled the air. The windows vibrated. "Oh, Jack," she cried. "Another..." But her voice was drowned in the scream of its shell tearing through the clouds overhead. Oh, fuck. Dude, war and stuff? "That is the nearest yet," she murmured. "Oh, no," he answered cheerfully. "It probably fell way over by Montmartre." And as she did not answer, he said again with exaggerated unconcern, "They wouldn't take the trouble to fire at the Latin Quarter. Anyway, they haven't a battery that can hurt it." After a while, she spoke up brightly. "Jack, dear, when are you going to take me to see Monsieur West's statues? "I will bet," he said, throwing down his palette and walking over to the window beside her, "that Colette has been there today." "Why?" she asked, opening her eyes very wide. Then, Oh, it's too bad. Really, men are tiresome when they think they know everything. And I warn you that if Monsieur West is vain enough to imagine that Colette from the north, another shell came whistling and quavering through the sky, passing above them with long-drawn shrieks which left the windows singing. That, he blurted out, was too near for comfort. They were silent for a while. Then he spoke again, gaily. Go on, Sylvia, and with her, poor West. But she only sighed. Oh dear, I can never seem to get used to the shells. He sat down on the arm on the chair beside her. The scissors fell jingling to the floor. She tossed the unfinished frock after them, and putting both arms around his neck, drew him down into her lap. Don't go out tonight, Jack. He kissed her uplifting face. You know I must. Don't make it hard for me. But when I hear the shells and know you are out in the city, but they all fall in Montmartre. They may all fall in the Buards. You said yourself that two struck the... Whoa, okay, that's... I just heard it twice, that was odd. How did I think I know what's going on then. Hold on a second. I think it should be good now. Hi Mole! Thank you so much for subscribing! Good to see you, how are you doing? Everybody, that's Molgado, developer of Frogun and Frogun 2, and also a very cool set of 3D platforming assets that you can use in your Unity projects if you want. And no worries, Mole, it's all good. We're supposed to get a little bit scared. It is, after all, you know, The King in Yellow, which is a horror book and all that, even if it hasn't been very scary for a while now. It's kind of funny. You would think they would ramp up the scares as it goes on, but they kind of like, they're like, it's okay, it's alright. You can chill a little bit with these. They may all fall in the Buards. You said yourself that two struck the Quai d'Orsay. Mere accident. Jack, have pity on me. Take me with you. And who will there be to get dinner? She rose and flung herself on the bed. Oh, I can't get used to it. And I know you must go, but I beg you not to be late to dinner. If you knew what I suffer, I cannot help it. And you must be patient with me, dear. He said, it is as safe there as it is in our own house. She watched him fill for her the alcohol lamp, and when he had lighted it and had taken his head to go, she jumped up and clung to him in silence. After a moment, he said, Now, Sylvia... Her name is Sylvia. Did we know that? Was that said before? Did I just, like, not make the connection, or is it the first time? Oh, no, okay, this is the first time we're hearing the name Sylvia. Oh, no. It has been mentioned before. I just didn't make the connection. That the previous version had a Sylvia who was a corpse, but also wasn't in Paris. Or at least... Or rather, no, was in Paris. Yeah, no, she died in Paris. On the Street of the Four Winds. And this is the Street of the First Shell. At least that's the name of the story. But that's not what the street is called. But that's... I wonder if that's going to be relevant at all. I wonder if these two stories are actually connected, unlike everything else. Well, I mean, more directly connected than just having the King in Yellow or aspects of the King in Yellow in them. Interesting. Now, after a moment he said, Now, Sylvia, remember my courage is sustained by yours. Come, I must go. She did not move, and he repeated, I must go. Then she stepped back, and he thought she was going to speak, and waited, but she only looked at him, and, a little impatiently, he kissed her again, saying, Don't worry, dearest. When he had reached the last flight of stairs on his way to the street, a woman hobbled out of the housekeeper's lodge, waving a letter, and calling, Monsieur Jack, this was left by Monsieur Fallowby. He took the letter, and leaning on the threshold of the lodge, read it. Dear Jack, I believe Braith is dead broke, and I'm sure Fallowby is. Braith swears he isn't, and Fallowby Swears he is, so you can draw your own conclusions. I've got a scheme for a dinner, and if it works, I will let you fellows in. Yours faithfully, West. So West he makes sculptures. We know he's got a sculpture gallery, and not much else. P.S. Fallowby has shaken Hartman and his gang, thank the Lord. There is something rotten there, or it may be he's only a miser. P.P.S. I'm more desperately in love than ever, but I'm sure she does not care a straw for me. All right, said Trent with a smile to the concierge. But tell me, how is Papa Cotard? So Trent is the man who is Sylvia's lover. The old woman shook her head and pointed to the curtained bed in the lodge. Pierre Cotard, he cried cheeringly. How goes the wound today? He walked over to the bed and drew the curtains. An old man was lying among the tumbled sheets. Better? Smiled Trent. Better, repeated the man wearily, and after a pause. Have you any news, Monsieur Jack? I haven't been out today. I will bring you any rumor I may hear, though goodness knows I've got enough of rumors, he muttered to himself. Then aloud, cheer up, you're looking better. And the sortie? Oh, the sortie, that's for this week. General Trochu sent orders last night. It will be terrible. It will be sickening, thought Trent as he went into the street and turned the corner towards the Rue de Seine. Slaughter, slaughter. Phew, I'm glad I'm not going. What, a public execution or something? What's going on? Good evening, Ameb Ashley. Welcome. The street was almost deserted. A few women, muffled in tattered military capes, crept along the frozen pavement, and a wretchedly clad gamin hovered over the sewer hole on the corner of the boulevard. A rope around his waist held his rags together. From the rope hung a rat, still warm and bleeding. That's dinner. There's another there, he yelled at Trent. I hit him and he got away. Trent crossed the street and asked, how much? 2 francs and a quarter of a fat one. That's what they give at the Saint Germain market. What, for rats? You're selling rats? Is this like a situation like they have a plague or something? So they're paying people to get rid of rats, I assume? Or is it for dinner? A violent fit of coughing interrupted him, but he wiped his face with the palm of his hand and looked cunningly at Trent. Last week you could buy a rat for 6 francs, but... And here he swore vilely. The rats have quit the Rue de Seine, and they kill them now over the new hospital. I'll let you have this for 7 francs. I can sell it for 10 in the Isle St. Louis. You lie, said Trent. And let me tell you that if you try to swindle anybody in this quarter, the people will make short work of you and your rats. What is this rat economy situation? Why are we selling rats? Was this a thing in Paris? Were people buying and selling? Like, why are you... Like, if it was a situation of, oh, we have too many rats, we have a rat plague, so we're paying people to kill rats, so if you can bring us rat corpses, we will pay you for them. That's one thing. But it sounds like you can, like, there are people wanting to buy rats, dead rats. I can understand buying a live rat because it's a nice pet. Why are you buying dead rats? Is that dinner? And hello, Sekwar, also enjoy your lurk, which I assume you mean, because it's like a lurk type of month. Meal. Is it meal? Are we talking about meal here? Is the point of that... Yummers! Maybe it's intentionally vague. Maybe we're gonna find out why they're buying rats. Who knows? My meal! He stood a moment, eyeing the gamin, which means street urchin, who pretended to snivel. Then he tossed him a franc, laughing. The child caught it and, thrusting it into his mouth, wheeled about to the sewer hole. For a second he crouched, motionless, alert, his eyes on the bars of the drain. Then, leaping forward, he hurled a stone into the gutter, and Trent left him to finish a fierce grey rat that writhed, squealing at the mouth of the sewer. Suppose Braith should come to that, he thought, poor little chap. And hurrying, he turned in the dirty passage to des Buarts and entered the third house to the left. Monsieur is at home, quavered the old concierge. Home? A garret absolutely bare, save for the iron bedstead in the corner and the iron basin and pitcher on the floor. West appeared at the door, winking with much mystery. Ooh. And motioned Trent to enter. Braith, who was painting in bed to keep warm, looked up, laughed, and shook hands. Any news? The perfunctory question was answered as usual by nothing but the cannon. Trent sat down on the bed. Where on earth did you get that? He demanded, pointing to a half-finished chicken nestling in a wash basin. They made the retconomy after reading The King in Yellow. Maybe we're gonna find out that that's why. Maybe everybody here has read The King in Yellow, and so they're all buying rats for some reason. West grinned. Are you millionaires, you two? Out with it. Braith, looking a bit little ashamed, began, Oh, it's one of West's exploits, but was cut short by West, who said he would tell the story himself. You see, before the siege, I had a letter of introduction to a type here. A fat banker, German-American variety. You know the species, I see. Well, of course, I forgot to present the letter, but this morning, judging it to be a favorable opportunity, I called on him. The villain lives in comfort. Fires, my boy, fires in the anterooms. The Buttons finally condescends to carry my letter and cart up, leaving me standing in the hallway, which I do not like, so I entered the first room I saw and nearly fainted at the sight of a banquet on a table by the fire. Down comes Buttons, very insolent. No, oh no, his master is not at home, and in fact is too busy to receive letters of introduction just now. The siege and many business difficulties. I deliver a kick to Buttons, pick up his chicken from the table, toss my card on the empty plate, and addressing Buttons as a species of Prussian pig, march out with the honors of war. That seems a bit mean. I feel like you didn't need to attack the butler. That seems unnecessary. The butler didn't do anything wrong. 1. Buy live red. 2. Kill it. 3. Turn in dead red for profit. 5. Profit. I feel like you're missing the real scheme here, which is buy live red, obtain more reds, kill those reds, sell those reds for money, something, profit. I feel like buying you would have to buy multiple reds anyway to really make a big profit to for it to be worth it. So why not just keep some of the reds so you can get more reds? You know? Now if only we could figure out a way to not have to kill them. You know? Oh wait, we can no. Well, kinda. I mean, you could start selling the live reds, telling people that they can use them to get more dead reds later on. But then you would be out of business soon. So plus, actually, if you breed the reds yourself, you can ask extra for the labor costs. So that's the much better option, I think. I hate the economy. Trent shook his head. I forgot to... Oh, sorry. Trent shook his head. I forgot to say that Hartman often dines there, and I draw my own conclusions, continued West. Now, about this chicken, half of it is for Braith and myself, and half for Colette. But of course you will help me eat my part, because I'm not hungry. Neither am I, began Braith, but Trent, with a smile at the pinched faces before him, shook his head, saying, What nonsense! You know I'm never hungry. Are you guys, like, undead? What's going on? West hesitated, reddening, and then slicing off Braith's portion, but not eating any himself, said, Good night, and hurried away to number 470, Rue Serpente. Why was that, like, Spanish? Serpent. where lived a pretty girl named Colette, orphan after Sedan. A reference to the Battle of Sedan, fought September 1st and 2nd, 1870, near the town of Sedan in northeastern France during the Franco-Prussian War. Orphan after Sedan, and heaven alone knew where she got the roses in her cheeks, for the siege came hard on the poor. It's so funny when in a story like this, they're like, even though her situation fucking sucks, she's so pretty. Whoa! Hey Izzy and all your viewers, hello! Welcome! Hi! We found the Yuri, yay! I love Yuri! I'm so happy you guys found it. Do share some Yuri with me, please. Hope you guys are doing so good. I hope you have had a wonderful stream. What did you guys get up to? Did you found the Yuri? And also, Yuri alert! Oh, you finished the nose! Yay! This is a perfect thing to read into. Oh my god, it is! That is so perfect! Because we are, of course, reading The King in Yellow. Which is a story that is mentioned in Signalis. Hello, everybody. I am currently Josephine. Usually, I'm a VTuber, as you can see down here. That's my one of my VTuber characters. I actually have several because I'm a variety streamer and variety artist, and I have a variety of characters for a variety of different types of games. And sometimes I do things that aren't games, like read books, which I do like this, with my real face. I am, like Izzy, a member of RXD, and for those who don't know Izzy yet, definitely deserves a shout out. They are such a good artist, and oh my gosh, you caught us just before our break, as it turns out. That's great. You guys get a little bit of a break between the two streams. You know, it's kind of nice. Wow. Got your mother in a whirl. She's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Hey babe, your hair's alright. Hey babe, let's go out tonight. Actually, we're not doing that. We're staying inside and doing our ester gel, or at least I am. Yes, new viewers and old viewers alike. It is 9 p.m., which means it's time for me to do my ester gel. For this, we will take a 20 or so minute break. During this break, I will play some nice music for you all to listen to. It is a perfect time for any of you who have medicine to take to remember to do so. It is also a perfect time to make sure you stay hydrated, stretch your leggies, get some snackies, and then we will continue reading The King in Yellow. We are currently, we're this far into, kind of hard to see. We're this far into the book, which is actually not as far as I thought we would be, considering we're coming up on the end. What was I gonna say? I forgot where I was. Right. If you haven't seen the other streams where we're reading it, it's not too big of a deal. These are short stories. You can read them individually. We've just started like a pretty long one. We're almost at the end of the first chapter out of 4. But you're not missing out too much. It's fine. So 20 minutes break. We'll meet back here. I'll see you guys soon. Enjoy the break. Bye.
it turns into orange, and I don't think it's orange. Then feeling, how can you explain why the rain keeps falling wherever I'm going? Can we leave it behind? 'Cause I just don't know where we're going. Can we leave it behind? 'Cause I don't know how, and you don't know why. Hey, mister, what's the price that we pay every morning? Literally, so hopeless and unfair, but we keep on running, no matter what's coming. Same feeling. How can we explain why this pain keeps growing wherever I'm going? Can we leave it behind? 'Cause I just don't know where we're going. Can we leave it behind? 'Cause I don't know how, and you don't know why. Each and every day, hiding from the sunshine, wandering in the shade. Not too old, not too young. Every night again, dancing with the moonlight. So we're far away, I can hear your call. I'm out of my head, of my heart, and my mind. 'Cause you can run as you can hide. I'm gonna make you mine. Out of my head, of my heart, and my mind. 'Cause I can feel how
しと君の影のように伸びている平行線勇気がないのは時代のせいにしてしまえばいいいつまでたっても思いは口に出せないままただ壊れないように同じ今日を繰り返しなそってどこにも行けない狙いない場所を探してた君の唇からこぼれ出す言葉になりたい太陽系を抜け出して平行線で交わるそんなから笑い望みも不甲斐ない声も引き連れ
We can write a poem, we can read along, we can take a photograph, fold it in and do it a little later. We should write it down, we should write a book, we should tell a story to the moon, but we'll do it a little later. All reasons to crash into the ocean. All water is washing all around us. All reasons to crash into the ocean. All we are is floating all around us. You can make a plan, you can board a plane, you can see the world, you can fall in love and do it a little later. Take a look in front of you, and if you love a memory, you tell her that you need it. Don't you wait a minute later. No, don't wait a minute later. All reasons to crash into the ocean. All water is washing all around us. All reasons to crash into the ocean. All we are is floating all around us. Welcome to the ocean. Wash away your problems. Breathing in out of your lungs. Fall in love with everyone. Welcome to the ocean. Lots of room for everyone. Salty air is on your tongue.
My fishnet claws got a little bit wet. This is so annoying, and I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, hi. Welcome. Let me just put on different music. This time we'll go back to the that old playlist we used to use, just to mix it up a little. There we go. Hello, hello. Welcome back from the break. I'm also going to do a bump on the socials. And a short, mostly sweet story with a cat. We're now back to a long, short story. There we go. Now there have been some redeems during the break, so let me get to those. Starting with Wibless and Molgado. Thank you guys for your eggs, which finished the first egg stack. How strange, they've turned yellow again. Perhaps they'll even turn back into red if we keep going. Tills go up and to the left of the last one. Here you go. This is kind of... You're kind of in my face at this point. Bit of an inconvenience. But we are undeterred and we'll continue reading The King in Yellow. We're currently reading The Street of the First Shell. A much longer one. I'd like to finish it today. We'll see how far we can come. We've got an hour. So they were talking about a chicken which West had stolen from a rich person's house. It was some banker stole chicken from their house. Good, fuck banks. That chicken will delight her, her being Colette, which is a girl and an orphan from the Battle of Sedan, which is a real place that happened in France. That chicken... let me center my voice. That chicken will delight her, but I really believe she's in love with West, said Trent, then walking over to the bed. See here, old man, no dodging, you know. How much have you left? The other hesitated and flushed. Come, old chap, insisted Trent. Braith drew a purse from beneath his bolster and handed it to his friend with a simplicity that touched him. 7 sous. A French sou, also known as a sol, was either of 2 bronze coins equal to 5 or 10 centimes. Centimes? It was equal to 5 or 10 centimes. I love the ambiguity there. I don't know, whatever the person you're giving the money to feels like, I suppose. 7 sous, he counted. You make me tired. Why on earth don't you come to me? I take it damned ill, Braith. How many times must I go over the same thing and explain to you that because I have money, it is in my duty to share it, and your duty, and the duty of every American, to share it with me? You can't get a cent, the city's blockaded, and the American minister has his hands... Oh, I thought it was in France. They're talking about Americans and stuff, but all the place names, and they talk about the Seine, which again is the French river that runs through Paris. This is a wacky new alternate universe where America is in France instead. You can't get a cent, the city's blockaded, and the American minister has his hands full with all the German riffraff and deuce knows what. Why don't you act sensibly? I will, Trent, but it's an obligation that perhaps I can never even in part repay. I'm poor, and of course you'll pay me. If I were an ussurer, a moneylender, especially one who lends an unreasonably and unlawfully high interest rates, if I were an ussurer, I would take your talent for security. When you are rich and famous, don't, Trent. All right, only no more monkey business. He slipped a dozen gold pieces into the purse, and tucking it again under the mattress, smiled at Braith. How old are you? He demanded. 16. Trent laid his hand lightly on his friend's shoulder. I'm 22, and I have the rights of a grandfather as far as you are concerned. You'll do as I say until you're 21. The siege will be over by then, I hope, said Braith, trying to laugh. But prayer in their hearts, how long, oh Lord, how long, was answered by the swift scream of a shell soaring among the storm clouds of that December night. He's a nice dude. He's like, listen, I don't have any money But you're such a good fucking painter. I don't even. You're fine. You'll be fine. You'll reach great things in life. Here, have some money. Chapter 2. West, standing in the doorway of a house in the Rue Serpentine, was speaking angrily. He said he didn't care whether Hartman liked it or not. He was telling him, not arguing with him. You call yourself an American, he sneered. Berlin and hell are full of that kind of American. You come loafing about Colette with your pockets stuffed with white bread and beef, and a bottle of wine at 30 francs, and you can't really afford to give $1 to the American ambulance and the public assistance, which Braith does, and he's half starved. Hartman retreated to the curbstone, but West followed him, his face like a thundercloud. Don't you dare to call yourself a countryman of mine, he growled. No, nor an artist either. Artists don't worm themselves into the service of the public defense, where they do nothing but feed like rats on the people's food. And I'll tell you now, he continued, dropping his voice, for Hartman had started as though stung, you might better keep away from that Alsatian brasserie and the smug-faced thieves who haunt it. You know what they do with suspects. You lie, you hound, screamed Hartman, and flung the bottle in his hand straight at West's face. West had him by the throat in a second, and forcing him against the dead wall, shook him wickedly. Now you listen to me, he muttered, through his clenched teeth. You are already a suspect, and I swear I believe you are a paid spy. It isn't my business to detect such vermin, and I don't intend to denounce you, but understand this. Colette don't like you, and I can't stand you. And if I catch you in the street again, I'll make it somewhat unpleasant. I'll make it a little bit inconvenient. Why, the interaction will be a bit awkward. Get out, you sleek Prussian. Oh, okay. Hartman had managed to drag a knife from his pocket, but West tore it from him and hurled him into the gutter. A gamin who had seen this burst into a peal of laughter, which rattled harshly in the silent street. Then everywhere, windows were raised and rows of haggard faces appeared, demanding to know why people should laugh in this starving city. Is this a victory? Murmured one. Look at that, cried West as Hartman picked himself up from the pavement. Look, you miser, look at those faces. But Hartman gave him a look which he never forgot, and walked away without a word. Trent, who suddenly appeared at the corner, glanced curiously at West, who merely nodded toward his door, saying, Come in. Fallowby is upstairs. Ooh, an egg. Mothman, thank you for the egg. Which starts the second egg stack. What are you doing with that knife? Demanded Fallowby as he and Trent entered the studio. West looked at his wounded hand, which still clutched the knife, but saying, Cut myself by accident, tossed it into a corner and washed the blood from his fingers. Fallowby, fat and lazy, watched him without comment, but Trent, half divining how things had turned, walked over to Fallowby, smiling. I've a bone to pick with you, he said. Where is it? I'm hungry, replied Fallowby with affected eagerness. Okay, alright, okay. Even back in those days, I guess we were making the fat guy likes to eat a lot character stereotypes. Although I guess we're in a starving city, you know? So like they're all hungry, but it's the first thing that this dude says after being told that he is fat and lazy. I don't know, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. Where is it? I'm hungry, replied Fallowby with affected eagerness, but Trent, frowning, told him to listen. How much did I advance you a week ago? 380 francs, replied the other, with a squirm of contrition. Where is it? Fallowby began a series of intricate explanations, which were soon cut short by Trent. I know, you blew it in. You always blow it in. I don't care a rap what you did before the siege. I know you are rich and have a right to dispose of your money as you wish to, and I also know that, generally speaking, it is none of my business. But now it is my business, as I have to supply the funds until you get some more, which you won't until the siege is ended one way or another. I wish to share what I have, but I won't see it thrown out the window. Oh yes, of course I know you will reimburse me, but that isn't the question. And anyway, it's the opinion of our friends, old man, that you will not be the worse off for a little abstinence from fleshly pleasures. You are positively a freak in this famine-cursed city of skeletons. I am rather stout, he admitted. Is it true you are out of money? Demanded Trent. Yes, I am, sighed the other. That roast-sucking pig on the Rue Saint Honore, honor, and then E with a with like E, yeah. You know, a little thing on there. I forgot what they're called. It's not. Is it an apostrophe? It's like an apostrophe, but it's like on the letter. I think there's a different word for that. I don't know. That roast-sucking pig on the Rue Saint Honore. Is it there yet? Continued Trent. What? Stammered the feeble one. Ah, I thought so. I caught you in ecstasy before that sucking pig at least a dozen times. Then, laughing, he presented Fallowby with a roll of 20 franc pieces, saying, If these go for luxuries, you must live on your own flesh, and went over to 8 West, who sat beside the wash basin, binding up his hand. West suffered him to tie the knot, and then said, You remember yesterday when I left you and Braith to take the chicken to Colette? Chicken, good heavens, moaned Fallowby. Okay, come on. Chicken, repeated West, enjoying Fallowby's grief. I must explain that things are changed. Colette and I are to be married. What about the chicken grown? Okay, shut the fuck up! Oh my god! Come on. Like, I can't believe that this book decides to have a comedic relief character, and it's a fat character, and the fat character loves to eat, and everything. They're just constantly talking about eating. That is not something. Maybe I just haven't. Maybe I just like anytime I read something like older works, I just happen to avoid the ones where they make fat-phobic jokes. I mean, I've read Lovecraft stuff, so like I'm no stranger to offensive stereotypes and stuff in older fiction. I can't believe this is the first time I've run across a fat-phobic thing in an older book. This is crazy to me. And it's so exactly the same as it would be done today. This is insane. My god. Anyway, we go on. Shut up, laughed Trent, and slipping his arm through West's, walked to the stairway. The poor little thing, said West. Just think, not a splinter of firewood for the week, and wouldn't tell me because she thought I needed it for my clay figure. Phew, when I heard I smashed that smirking clay nymph to pieces, and the rest can freeze and be hanged. After a moment, he added timidly, Won't you call on your way down and say bonjour? It's number 17. I love that they put a translation from bonjour in the notes at the bottom, the annotations. That's cute. Well, actually, it's bonsoir. I said it wrong. Good thing they said it, actually, because I read it as bonjour. It's bonsoir, which means good evening. Yes, said Trent, and he went out softly, closing the door behind him. He stopped on the 3rd landing, lighting a match, scanned the numbers over the row of dingy doors, and knocked at number 17. C'est toi, which means it's you. C'est toi, George? The door opened. Oh, pardon, Monsieur Jack. I thought it was Monsieur West. Then, blushing furiously, Oh, I see you have heard. Oh, thank you so much for your wishes, and I'm sure we love each other very much. And I'm sure we love each other very much. Like, I assume we're in love. We're gonna be married, so I assume we're in love. That's how that works, right? People tend to get married when they're in love. So I'm sure we are. And I'm dying to see Sylvia and tell her and what? Laughed Trent. I am very happy, she sighed. He's pure gold, returned Trent, and then gaily, gay. I want you and George to come and dine with us tonight. It's a little treat. You see, tomorrow is Sylvia's fete, which means party. She will be 19. I have written to Thorne and the Gornalex will come with their cousin Odile. Fallowby has engaged not to bring anybody but himself. The girl accepted shyly, charging him with loads of loving messages to Sylvia, and he said goodbye. Damn, she really likes this girl, and she's like, I guess I love this man that I'm gonna get married to. I can't wait to see Sylvia, though. Please, here is an entire list of loving messages for her, for this girl that I can't wait to see. By the way, I guess I love this man. I see what's going on here. Or at the very least, I see what I'm going to believe is going on here. He started up the street, walking swiftly, for it was bitter cold, and cutting across the Rue de la Lune, he entered the Rue de Seine. The early winter night had fallen, almost without warning, but the sky was clear and myriads of stars glittered in the heavens. The bombardment had become furious, a steady rolling thunder from the Prussian cannon, punctuated by the heavy shocks from Mont Valérien. The shells streamed across the sky, leaving trails like shooting stars, and now, as he turned to look back, rockets, blue and red, flared above the horizon from the fort of Issy, and the fortress of the north flamed like a bonfire. "Good news!" a man shouted over by the boulevard Saint-Germain. As if by magic, the streets were filled with people, shivering, chattering people with shrunken eyes. "Jacques!" cried one, "the army of Delors!" "Eh, mon vieux," which means old man, apparently. "It has come, then, at last. I told thee. Tomorrow, tonight, who knows? Is it true? Is it a sortie?" In this context, it means an attack made by troops when surrounded by enemy forces. Someone said, "Oh God, a sortie. And my son?" Another cried, "To the Seine? They say one can see the signals of the army of the Loire from the Pont Neuf," which is the oldest standing bridge crossing the Seine River in Paris. The Pont Neuf. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I've heard that before. There was a child standing near Trent who kept repeating, "Mama, Mama, then tomorrow we may eat white bread?" And beside him, an old man swaying, stumbling, his shriveled hands crushed to his breast, muttering as if insane. Could it be true? Who has heard the news? The shoemaker on the Rue de Bussy, headed from a mobile, which is the Garde Mobile or Garde Nationale Mobile, or Moblats, as they were colloquially known, was a battalion of 400,000 reservists who, along with the surviving fragments of the Imperial Army, formed the Republican defense after the Battle of Sedan, which again was mentioned earlier when that's the Colette is the girl we're talking to. She's gay for Sylvia. She lost her parents in the Battle of Sedan and then came here. Could it be true? Who has heard the news? The shoemaker on the Rue de Bussy had it from a mobile who had heard a Franc tireur. God damn it, there's so much French words. A sharpshooter, okay, a sniper. Who had heard it from a sniper. Repeated to a captain of the National Guard. Trent followed the throng surging through the Rue de Seine to the river. Rocket after rocket clove the sky, and now from Montmartre the cannon clanged, and the batteries on Montparnasse joined in with a crash. The bridge was packed with people. Trent asked, "Who has seen the signals of the army of the Loire?" "We are waiting," was the reply. He looked towards the north. Suddenly, the huge silhouette of the Arc de Triomphe, which, if you don't know, is that really big building that's like it's an arc, you know? It's an arc, and it's really big, and it's on a big roundabout. I've seen it. It's pretty big. But it's kind of weird how it feels like something that should be a part of a whole, you know? Like it's part of like the city walls, and maybe it once was actually, I don't know. But as it stands now, it just kind of stands out in the open. There's like a road that goes around it, and it feels like it should be the gate, you know, like this is a gate. You can't get in except through here. It's very well defended, but it's just by itself. There's nothing around it. It's kind of weird to me. I don't know if it always used to be that. I'm actually kind of curious. Let's find out. Arc de Triomphe. French Nori Gate. Kinda. I've seen smaller ones throughout throughout France as well. Let's see. Whoa, what the fuck? Beneath its vault lies the tomb of the unknown soldier. That sounds really cool. What a cool name. But when was it built? History. The Arc de Triomphe is located on the right bank of the Seine, at the center of a dodecagonal configuration of 12 radiating avenues. It was commissioned in 1906 after the victory at Austerlitz by the Emperor Napoleon at the peak of his fortunes. Laying the foundations alone took 2 years, and in 1810, when Napoleon entered Paris from the west with his new bride, Archduchess Marie-Louise of Austria, he had a wooden mock-up of the completed arch constructed. The architect, Jean Chalgrin, died in 1811, and the work was taken over by Jean-Nicolas Hugeot. So it was literally, yep, it's just a big thing that stands in the middle and looks cool. That's all. It doesn't serve any purpose. It's just a cool monument because I guess Napoleon just liked himself that much, which checks out, frankly. Moving on. He looked towards the north. Suddenly, the huge silhouette of the Arc de Triomphe sprang into black relief against the flash of a cannon. The boom of the gun rolled along the quay, and the old bridge vibrated. Again, over by the Pont du Jour, a flash and heavy explosion shook the bridge, and then the whole eastern bastion of the fortifications blazed and crackled, sending a red flame into the sky. "Has anyone seen the signals yet?" he asked again. "We are waiting," was the reply. "Yes, waiting," murmured a man behind him. "Waiting, sick, starved, freezing, but waiting. Is it a sortie? They go gladly. Is it to starve? They starve. They have no time to think of surrender. Are they heroes, these Parisians? Answer me, Trent." The American ambulance surgeon turned about and scanned the parapets of the bridge. "Any news, doctor?" asked Trent mechanically. "News?" said the doctor. "I don't know any. I haven't time to know any. What are these people after?" "They say that the army of the Loire has signaled Mont Valérien. Poor devils." The doctor glanced about him for an instant, and then, "I'm so harried and worried that I don't know what to do. After the last sortie, we had the work of 50 ambulances on our poor little corps. Or corps. I think you should say corps, which is confusing. I lost where I was. Tomorrow is another sortie, and I wish you fellows would come over to headquarters. We may need volunteers. How's Madame?" he added abruptly. "Well," replied Trent, "but she seems to grow more nervous every day. I ought to be with her now." "Take care of her," said the doctor. Then, with a sharp look at the people, "I can't stop now. Good night." And he hurried away, muttering, "Poor devils." Trent leaned over the parapet and blinked at the black river surging through the arches. Dark objects carried swiftly on the breast of the current, struck with a grinding, tearing noise against the stone piers, spun around for an instant, and hurried away into the darkness, the ice from the Marne. As he stood staring into the water, a hand was laid on his shoulder. "Hello, Southwark!" he cried. Wait, hello? He cried that? No. Okay, I guess he immediately knows who it is. All right. "Hello, Southwark," he cried, turning around. "This is a queer place for you. Trent, I have something to tell you. Don't stay here. Don't believe in the army of the Loire. and the attaché of the American legation slipped his arm through Trent's and drew him toward the Louvre. Then it's another lie, said Trent bitterly. Worse, we know what legation. I can't speak of it, but that's not what I have to say. Something happened this afternoon. The Alsatian brasserie was visited, and an American named Hartman has been arrested. Do you know him? I know a German who calls himself an American. His name is Hartman. Well, he was arrested about 2 hours ago. They mean to shoot him. What? Of course, we at the legation can't allow them to shoot him offhand, but the evidence seems conclusive. Is he a spy? Well, the papers seized in his room are pretty damning proofs, and besides, he was caught, they say, swindling the Public Food Committee. He drew rations for 50. How, I don't know. He claims to be an American artist here, and we have been obliged to take notice of it at the legation. It's a nasty affair. To cheat the people at such a time is worse than robbing the poor box. Oh, that poor box! How could you do that to him? Cried Trent angrily. Let them shoot him. He's an American citizen. Yes, oh yes, said the other with bitterness. American citizenship is a precious privilege when every goggle-eyed German... His anger choked him. Southwark shook hands with him warmly. It can't be helped. It can't be helped. We must own the carrion. I'm afraid you may be called upon to identify him as an American artist, he said with a ghost of a smile on his deep, lined face, and walked away through the Cour de la Reine. Fucking, I don't know French. That's not a language I really know. Cour la Reine. Reine. It's like Seine, so it's Reine. Cour la Reine. Okay, that's probably right. Maybe. Or not, who knows? Trent swore silently for a moment and then drew out his wrath. 7 o'clock. Sylvia will be anxious, he thought, and hurried back to the river. The crowd still huddled shivering on the bridge, a somber, pitiful congregation, peering out into the night for the signals of the army of the Loire. And their hearts beat time to the pounding of the guns, their eyes lighted with each flash from the bastions, and hope rose with the drifting rockets. A black cloud hung over the fortifications. From horizon to horizon, the cannon smoke stretched in wavering hands, now capping the spires and domes with cloud, now blowing in streamers and shreds along the streets, now descending from the housetops, enveloping quays, bridges, and rivers in a sulphurous mist. And through the smoke pall the lightning of the cannon played, while from time to time a rift above showed a fathomless black vault set with stars. He turned again into the Rue de Seine, that sad abandoned street with its rows of closed shutters and desolate ranks of unlighted lamps. He was a little nervous and wished once or twice for a revolver, but the slinking forms which passed him in the darkness were too weak with hunger to be dangerous. He thought, and he passed on unmolested to his doorway. But there somebody sprang at his throat. Over and over the icy pavement he rolled. Fuck. Okay. Huh? Come on, girl. But there somebody sprang at his throat. Over and over the icy pavement. Okay. Over and over the icy pavement he rolled with his assailant, tearing at the noose about his neck, and then with a retch sprang to his feet. Get up, he cried to the other. Slowly and with great deliberation, a small gamin picked himself out of the gutter, that means street urchin as we learned earlier, and surveyed Trent with disgust. That's a nice clean trick, said Trent. A whelp of your age. You'll finish against a dead wall. Give me that cord. The urchin handed him the noose without a word. Trent struck a match and looked at his assailant. It was the rat killer of the day before. I thought so, he muttered. Tiens, c'est toi? Hey, is that you? Said the gamin tranquilly. The impudence, the overpowering audacity of the ragamuffin took Trent's breath away. Do you know, you young strangler, he gasped, that they shoot thieves your age? Also, there's an ad in 3 minutes, so I'll try to remember that and take a break when that happens. The child turned a passionless face to Trent. Shoot then. That was too much, and he turned on his heel and entered his hotel. Groping up the unlighted stairway, he at last reached his own landing and felt about in the darkness for the door. From his studio came the sound of voices, West's hearty laugh and Fallowby's chuckle, and at last he found the knob and, pushing back the door, stood a moment confused by the light. "Hello, Jack," cried West. "You're a pleasant creature, inviting people to dine and letting them wait. Here's Fallowby weeping with hunger." "Shut up," observed the latter. "Perhaps he's been out to buy a turkey." Here we go again. "He's been out garrotting. Look at his news," laughed Cornelac, which I'm not sure who that is. I know we've mentioned that person before, but I don't know who it is. So now we know where you get your cash, added West. Vive le coup de Père François. Long live Father Francis. Francis? Trent took hands with everybody and laughed at Sylvia's pale face. "I didn't mean to be late. I stopped on the bridge a moment to watch the bombardment. Were you anxious, Sylvia?" She smiled and murmured, "Oh no," but her hand dropped into his and tightened convulsively. "To the table," shouted Fallowby and uttered a joyous whoop. Whoop! "Take it easy," observed Thorne, who I also don't know, with a remnant of manners. "You are not the host, you know." Mary Cornelac, who had been chattering with Colette, jumped up and took Thorne's arm, and Monsieur Cornelac drew Odil's arm through his. So many characters in this scene that we don't know. I will simply ignore the ones that we haven't been explained who they are. Trent, bowing gravely, offered his own arm to Colette. West took in Sylvia, and Willoughby hovered anxiously in the rear. "You march around the table 3 times singing the Marseillaise," which is a song, I assume, explained Sylvia, and Monsieur Fallowby pounds on the table and beats time. Fallowby suggested that they could sing after dinner, but his protest was drowned in the ringing chorus. That's French. I can't read that. It's a French song. Translated from French. "To arms! Form your battalions!" A lyric from La Marseillaise, the national anthem of France. Around the room they marched singing. Singing again, "To arms! Form your battalions!" Let's march, let's march. With all their might, while Fallowby, with very bad grace, hammered on the table, consoling himself a little with the hope that the exercise would increase his appetite. I get it, he's a fat guy, he likes to eat. Oh my god, and now we're gonna take a 3-minute break, because there's an ad break. Reading this, I very much wonder if there is going to be an element of horror still. In any case, it's got a similar thing. It does have a similar. The bombardment, I feel, in a sense, almost serves as a similar element as The King in Yellow does in many of the earlier stories, where these characters have a life that's going on. They have their hardships, their friends, their loved ones, usually a romantic partner or romantic interest that they would like. And there is this other element, The King in Yellow, that influences all of this. And here that's the bombardment. That's how I'm looking at this right now. Maybe The King in Yellow is also going to take play an element, but the fact that there really seems to be less and less of a focus on horror, which I do think I recall reading about long ago, does suggest that it's not gonna have much a horror anymore. This story, it is simply about this group of friends and acquaintances surviving in the middle of this war, which is also interesting. But it does. What I think is interesting is that like this book is set as like one of the quintessential influences of cosmic horror and stuff. And it's very interesting to me then that so much of the book ends up not having that much to do with, because we started this book nearly like this story nearly like in the middle of the book. And already there, like, we just had a series of poems that didn't have the King in Yellow. We had the other street one, the Street of the Four Winds. Of course, that one didn't have the King in Yellow at all, or any other elements of it. There were stories before where they didn't read the King in Yellow, but there were still elements of it. Hester was mentioned, for example. The yellow mark, or the yellow sign, you know? Stuff like that. So the King in Yellow, the play in itself wasn't mentioned, but there were still elements of it that were mentioned. But now it's like less and less of that, and it's less and less horror as well. So it's odd to me that it would still be put on such a high pedestal as one of the greatest works of horror of all time, when so much of it is not horror, as it turns out. There's certainly a horror to this, you know, to the war, but it is not the type of horror that the book is praised for. Praised as horror, more romantic in terms of the content. Yeah, it's a lot of romance. Most of the stories, if almost all of the stories, have been romantic in some nature, and some of it quite nice. But it is again, yeah, it's interesting that it's so often praised as a horror story when it's more a collection of horror stories, when it is more actively a collection of romance stories. The powerlessness of war compared and contrasted with traditional cosmic horrors. Yeah, see, that's how I'm reading this. Is like, there is not the traditional cosmic horror that has been present throughout the book. It is a much more tangible and known type of horror to us, which is of course interesting, because one of the big things about cosmic horror is that it is an unknown horror. You can have a horror of a murderer stalking you. You can have a horror of a werewolf or something, which is also something that is much easier to understand. But cosmic horror is specifically a horror that we cannot possibly understand. And in fact, in trying to understand it, does the horror truly take form? Anyway, the break is over. Welcome back. We're gonna keep reading now. Hercules, the Black and Tan, which is a dog, fled under the bed, from which retreat he yapped and whined until dragged out by Cornelac and placed on Odil's lap. "And now," said Trent gravely when everybody was seated, "listen." And he read the menu. Ooh, they've got a whole fucking menu, these rich people. Wow, wow, wow. Damn. You already have the food and then you also have a menu? Beef soup à la Sige de Paris. Fish. Sardines à la Pierre Lachaise. White wine. Roti, red wine. Fresh beef à la Sortie. Vegetables. Canned beans à la Chasse Pot. Canned peas. Gravelot. Potatoes Irlandaise. Miscellaneous. I'll have some miscellaneous, thank you. Corned beef. Cold corned beef à la Thiers. Stewed prunes à la Garibaldi. Dessert. Dried prunes and white bread. Currant jelly. Tea, cafe. Liqueurs. Pipes and cigarettes. I could so much go for some tiramisu right now. I'd love some tiramisu. That's not on here. I just thought about it. I just thought about tiramisu. It's my favorite dessert. Fallowby applauded frantically, of course, and Sylvia served the soup. Isn't it delicious? Sighed Odile. Mary Cornelac sipped her soup in rapture. Not at all like horse, and I don't care what they say, horse doesn't taste like beef, whispered Colette to West. Fallowby, who had finished, began to caress his chin and eyed a tureen, which is a large, deep covered dish used for serving soups, stews, etc. Have some more, old chap? Inquired Trent. Monsieur Fallowby cannot have any more, announced Sylvia. I am saving this for the concierge. Fallowby transferred his eyes to the fish. The sardines, hot from the grill, were a great success. While the others were eating, Sylvia ran downstairs with the soup for the old concierge and her husband. And when she hurried back, flushed and breathless, and had slipped into her chair with a happy smile at Trent, that young man arose, and silence fell over the table. For an instant he looked at Sylvia and thought he had never seen her so beautiful. You all know, he began, that today is my wife's 19th birthday. Fallowby, bumbling with enthusiasm, waved his glass in circles about his head, to the terror of Odile and Colette. His neighbors, and Thorne, West, and Cornelec refilled their glasses 3 times before the storm of applause, which the toast of Sylvia had provoked, subsided. 3 times the glasses were filled and emptied to Sylvia, and again to Trent, who protested. This is irregular, he cried. The next toast is to the twin republics, friends in America. To the republics, they cried, and the toast was drunk amidst shouts of Vive la France! Viva America, whatever. Viva la nation! Then Trent, with a smile at West, offered the toast. To a happy pair. And everybody understood, and Sylvia leaned over and kissed Colette. While Trent bowed to West. They kissed! Yuri! They were lassing out! It's real, it's true, it's in the book! That's definitely what they mean when they say that she kissed her. 100%! We got him! A win! A win for the girlies! Let's go! The beef was eaten in comparative calm, and when it was finished and a portion of it set aside for the old people below, Trent cried, Drink to Paris! May she rise from her ruins and crush the invader! And the cheers rang out, drowning for a moment the monotonous thunder of the Prussian guns. Pipes and cigarettes were lighted, and Trent listened an instant to the animated chatter around him, broken by ripples of laughter from the girls and a mellow chuckle of Fallowby. Then he turned to West. There's going to be a sortie tonight, he said. I saw the American ambulance surgeon just before I came in, and he asked me to speak to you fellows. Any aid we can give him will not come amiss. Then, dropping his voice and speaking in English, As for me, I shall go out with the ambulance tomorrow morning. I'm speaking in my American accent. There is, of course, no danger, but it's just as well to keep it from Sylvia. West nodded. Thorne and Cornelec, who had heard, broke in and offered assistance, and Fallowby volunteered with a groan. All right, said Trent rapidly. No more now, but meet me at ambulance headquarters tomorrow morning at 8. Sylvia and Colette, who were becoming uneasy at the conversation in English, now demanded to know what they were talking about. What does a sculptor usually talk about? Cried West with a laugh. Odile glanced reproachfully at Thorne, her fiancé. You are not French, you know, and it is none of your business, this war, said Odile with much dignity. Thorne looked meek, but West assumed an air of outraged virtue. It seems, he said to Fallowby, that a fellow cannot discuss the beauties of Greek sculpture in his mother tongue without being openly suspected. Supplying to your girlies. Colette placed her hand over his mouth and turned to Sylvia. See, this is why Colette and Sylvia are getting together. Because they're not being respected. Colette placed her hand over his mouth and turned to Sylvia, murmured, They are horribly untruthful, these men. I believe the word for ambulance is the same in both languages, said Mary Cornelec saucily. Sylvia, don't trust Monsieur Trent. Jack, whispered Sylvia, promise me. A knock at the studio door interrupted her. Come in, cried Fallowby, but Trent sprang up and opened the door. And opening the door, looked out. Then, with a hasty excuse to the rest, he stepped into the hallway and closed the door. When he returned, he was grumbling. What is it, Jack? Cried West. What is it? Repeated Trent savagely. I'll tell you what it is. I have received a dispatch from the American minister to go at once and identify and claim, as a fellow countryman and brother artist, a rascally thief and a German spy. Don't go, suggested Fallowby. If I don't, they'll shoot him at once. Let them, growled Thorn. Do you fellows know who it is? Hartman, shouted West, inspired. Sylvia sprang up, deathly white, but Odile slipped her arm around her and supported her to a chair, saying calmly, Sylvia has fainted. It's the hot room. Bring some water. Trent brought it at once. Sylvia opened her eyes, and after a moment rose, and supported by Mary, Gornalek, and Trent, passed into the bedroom. It was the signal for breaking up, and everybody came and shook hands with Trent, saying they hoped Sylvia would sleep it off and that it would be nothing. When Mary Gornalek took leave of him, she avoided his eyes, but he spoke to her cordially and thanked her for her aid. Anything I can do, Jack? Inquired West, lingering, and then hurried downstairs to catch up with the rest. Trent leaned over the banisters, listening to their footsteps and chatter, and then the lower door banged and the house was silent. He lingered, staring down into the blackness, biting his lips. Then, with an impatient movement, I'm crazy, he muttered, and lighting a candle, went into the bedroom. He's crazy? Why, has he read The King in Yellow? Which drives you crazy? I'm crazy, he muttered, and lighting a candle, went into the bedroom. Sylvia was lying on the bed. He bent over her, smoothing the curly hair on her forehead. Are you better, dear Sylvia? She did not answer, but raised her eyes to his. For an instant he met her gaze, and what he read there sent a chill to his heart, and he sat down, covering his face with his hands. At last she spoke in a voice changed and strained, a voice which he had never heard, and he dropped his hands and listened, bolt upright in his chair. Jack, it has come at last. I have feared it and trembled. Ah, how often I have lain awake at night, with this on my heart, and prayed that I might die before you should ever know of it. For I love you, Jack, and if you go away I cannot live. I have deceived you. It happened before I knew you, but since that first day when you found me weeping in Luxembourg and spoke to me, Jack, I have been faithful to you in every thought and deed. I loved you from the first, and did not dare to tell you this, fearing that you would go away. And since then, my love has grown, and oh, I suffered, but I dared not tell you, and now you know. But you do not know the worst. For him, now, what do I care? He was cruel. Oh, so cruel. She hid her face in her arms. Must I go on? Must I tell you? Can you not imagine? Oh, Jack. He did not stir. His eyes seemed dead. I was young. I knew nothing. And he said that he loved me. Trent rose and struck the candle with his clenched fist, and the room went dark. The bells of St. Sulpice told the hour, and she stared up, speaking with feverish haste. I must finish. When you told me you loved me, you asked me nothing, but then, even then, it was too late, and that other life which binds me to him must stand forever between you and me, for there is another whom he has claimed, and is good too. He must not die. They cannot shoot him for that other's sake. Trent sat motionless, but his thoughts ran on in an interminable whirl. I got it. Sylvia, little Sylvia, who shared with him his student life, who bore with him the dreary desolation of the siege without complaint, this slender blue-eyed girl whom he was so quietly fond of, whom he teased and caressed as the whim suited, who sometimes made him the least bit impatient with her passionate devotion to him. Could this be the same Sylvia who lay weeping there in the darkness? Then he clenched his teeth. Clenched? Clenched? Can you clench your teeth? Do you mean clench? Clenched his teeth. Let him die, but then for Sylvia's sake, and for that other's sake. Yes, he would go, he must go, his duty was plain before him. But Sylvia, he could not be what he had been to her, and yet a vague terror seized him, now all was said. Trembling, he struck a light. She lay there, her curled hair tumbled about her face, her small white hands pressed to her breast. He could not leave her, and he could not stay. He never knew before that he loved her. Seriously? Haven't you guys like been making out and stuff? She had been a mere comrade to this girl wife of his. This girl wife, okay. Ah, he loved her now with all his heart and soul, and he knew it only when it was too late. Too late? Why? Then he thought of that other one, binding her, linking her forever to the creature who stood in danger of his life. With an oath, he sprang to the door, but the door would not open. Or was it that he pressed it back, locked it, and flung himself on his knees beside the bed, knowing that he dared not for his life's sake leave what was his all in life? Chapter 3. It was 4 in the morning when he came out of the prison of the condemned with the secretary of the American legation. A knot of people had gathered around the American minister's carriage, which stood in front of the prison. The horses can... Okay, This is like... This is just like that fucking Yuri manga again. Why do they always have such complicated relationships? I don't understand. Why does this dude not realize that he loved a woman that he was like... So... I guess he was just dating her out of fancy? I guess? And like, oh no! I have to go and tell them that guy shouldn't die. I mean, I guess he did like try to attack his friend. I guess it's a complicated situation. Still, it's just kind of funny to me that it's like, oh my god, I'm in love with her. Shit. And I realize this now. And what do you mean it's too late? I don't understand. I also don't really understand why it's such a big deal to find out that she dated this guy, like before they even met. I would just be like, oh, okay. You got any hot goss about that? But I guess times have changed. A knot of people had gathered around the American minister's carriage, which stood in front of the prison, the horses stamping and pawing in the icy street. The coachman huddled on the box, wrapped in furs. Southwark helped the secretary into the carriage and shook hands with Trent, thanking him for coming. Marriage out of need for companionship and partnership shifting to full devotion. They're not married, I don't think. They don't sound like they're married. But maybe, who knows. He does call her wife, but he calls her his girl wife, which doesn't sound very committal, you know? And hello, Ed Dragon Capman, enjoy your lurk. How the scoundrel did stare. He said, your evidence was worse than a kick, but it saved his skin for the moment at least, and prevented complications. The secretary sighed. We have done our part. Now let them prove him a spy and we wash our hands of him. Jump in, Captain. Come along, Trent. I have a word to say to Captain Southwark. I won't detain him, said Trent hastily and dropped his voice. Southwark, help me now. You know the story from the from the blackguard. You know the child is at his rooms. Get it and take it to my own apartment, and if he is shot, I will provide a home for it. I understand, said the captain gravely. Will you do this at once? At once, he replied. Their hands met in a warm clasp, and then Captain Southwark climbed into the carriage, motioning Trent to follow, but he shook his head, saying, Goodbye, and the carriage rolled away. He watched the carriage to the end of the street, then started towards his own quarter, but after a step or two hesitated, stopped, and finally turned away in the opposite direction. Something, perhaps it was the sight of the prisoner he had so recently confronted, nauseated him. He felt the need for solitude and quiet to collect his thoughts. The events of the evening had shaken him terribly, but he would walk it off, forget, bury everything, and then go back to Sylvia. He stared on swiftly, and for a time the bitter thoughts seemed to fade. But when he paused at last, breathless, under the Arc de Triomphe, the bitterness and the wretchedness of the whole thing, yes, of his whole misspent life, came back with a pang. Then the face of the prisoner, stamped with the horrible grimace of fear, grew in the shadows before his eyes. Sick at heart, he wandered up and down under the great arc, striving to occupy his mind, peering up at the sculptured cornices and to read the names of the heroes and battles which he knew were engraved there. But always the ashen face of Hartman followed him. Grinning with terror, or was it terror? Was it not triumph? At the thought, he leapt like a man who feels a knife at his throat, but after a savage tramp around the square, came back again and sat down to battle with his misery. He's going a little mad. He hasn't read the book as far as we know, but he's certainly going a little bit mad. The air was cold, but his cheeks were burning with angry shame. Shame? Why? Was it because he had married a girl whom chance had made a mother? Oh. Oh, did she have a kid with Hartman? Is that the case? Is that what you're talking about earlier? Like, you know the story from the Blackguard. You know the child is in his rooms. I was wondering what that meant. Get it and take it to my own apartment. Okay, all right. So that is the son of Sylvia. Okay, all right. That's what she was talking about earlier. Trent just like figured that out. He just like got it through. He just got that, but we weren't necessarily privy to that. I don't know if you guys figured that out. I didn't. I thought she was talking about like, oh yeah, for that other, like he has another love and she just respects that woman. No, she has a kid with him. Okay, that changes things. This is very different now. Okay, all right. Why? Why was it? And also they did get married. Okay, they did get married. That's also true. Was it because he had married a girl whom chance had made a mother? Did he love her? Was this miserable bohemian existence then his end and aim in life? He turned his eyes upon the secrets of his heart and read an evil story. The story of the past. And he covered his face for shame while keeping time to the dull pain throbbing in his head. His heart beat out the story for the future. Shame and disgrace. Roused at last from a lethargy which had begun to numb the bitterness of his thoughts, he raised his head and looked about. A sudden fog had settled in the streets. The arches of the Ark were choked with it. He would go home. A great horror of being alone seized him. But he was not alone. The fog was peopled with phantoms. All around him in the mist they moved, drifting through the arches in lengthening lines, and vanished, while from the fog others rose up, swept past and were engulfed. He was not alone, for even at his side they crowded, touched him, swarmed before him, beside him, behind him, pressed him back, seized and bore with them through the mist. Down a dim avenue, through lanes and alleys white with fog they moved, and if they spoke their voices were dull as the vapor which shrouded them. At last, in front, a bank of masonry and earth cut by a massive iron barred gate towered up in the fog. Slowly and more slowly they glided, shoulder to shoulder and thigh to thigh. Then all movement ceased. A sudden breeze stirred the fog. It wavered and eddied. Objects became more distinct. A pallor crept across the horizon, touching the edges of the watery clouds, and drew dull sparks from 1,000 bayonets. Bayonets. They were everywhere, cleaving the fog or flowing beneath it in rivers of steel. High on the wall of masonry and earth, a great gun loomed, and around it figures moved in silhouettes. Below, a broad torrent of bayonets swept through the iron-barred gateway, out into the shadowy plain. It became lighter. Faces grew more distinct among the marching masses, and he recognized one. "You, Philippe!" The figure turned its head. Trent cried, "Is there room for me?" But the other only waved his arm in a vague adieu, and was gone with the rest. Presently, the cavalry began to pass, squadron on squadron, crowded out into the darkness. Then many cannon, then an ambulance, then again the endless lines of bayonets. Beside him, a cuirassier, a cavalry soldier wearing a piece of armor consisting of a breastplate and a backplate fastened together, sat on his steaming horse. Steamed horse. They did talk about eating horses earlier, so. And in front, among a group of mounted officers, he saw a general with the astrakhan, a fabric, usually black or gray, of tightly curled wool of lambs from Astrakhan, collars of his dolman, a long and loose Turkish rope with narrow sleeves and an opening in the front, turned up about his bloodless face. Some women were weeping near him, and one was struggling to force a loaf of black bread into a soldier's haversack. The soldier tried to aid her, but the sack was fastened, and his rifle bothered him, so Trent held it, while the woman buttoned the sack and forced in the bread, now all wet with her tears. The rifle was not heavy. Trent found it wonderfully manageable. Was the bayonet sharp? He tried it. Then a sudden longing, a fierce, imperative desire took possession of him. A word that isn't translated. Chouette, I think it means owl, I think, cried a gamin, clinging to the barred gate. Encore tout mon veux, vous? Ow, you again, old man? Trent looked up, and the rat killer laughed in his face. But when the soldier had taken the rifle again and thanking him, ran hard to catch his battalion, he plunged into the throng about the gateway. Are you going? He cried to a marine who sat in the gutter bandaging his foot. Yes. Then a girl, a mere child, caught him by the hand and led him into the cafe, which faced the gate. The room was crowded with soldiers, some white and silent, sitting on the floor, others groaning on the leather-covered settees. The air was sour and suffocating. Choose, said the girl with a little gesture of pity. They can't go. In a heap of clothing on the floor, he found a capote, a long cloak or coat with a hood, typically part of an army or company uniform, and a kepi, a French military cap with a flat top and horizontal brim. She helped him buckle his knapsack, cartridge box, and belt, and showed him how to load the chase pot rifle, holding it on her knees. When he thanked her, she started at her feet. You are a foreigner. American, he said, moving toward the door, but the child barred his way. I am Breton. My father is up there with the cannon of the Marine. He will shoot you if you are a spy. They faced each other for a moment. Then, sighing, he bent over and kissed the child. Pray for France, little one, he murmured, and she repeated with a pale smile. For France and you, vieux monsieur. He ran across the street and through the gateway. Once outside, he edged into line and shouldered his way along the road. A corporal passed, looking at him, repassed, and finally called an officer. You belong to the 60th, growled the corporal, looking at a number on his kepi. We have no use for franc-tireurs. Don't know what that means? Added the officer, catching sight of his black trousers. I wish to volunteer in place of a comrade, said Trent, and the officer shrugged his shoulders and passed on. Nobody paid much attention to him, one or two merely glancing at his trousers. The road was deep, with slush and mud plowed and torn by wheels and hooves. A soldier in front of him wrenched his foot in an icy rut and dragged himself to the edge of the embankment, groaning. The plain on either side of them was grey with melting snow. Here and there, behind dismantled hedgerows, stood wagons bearing white flags with red crosses. Sometimes the driver was a priest in rusty hat and gown, sometimes a crippled mobile. Once they passed a wagon driven by a sister of charity. Silent, empty houses with great rents in their walls, and every window blank, huddled along the road. Further on, within the zone of danger, nothing of human habitation remained, except here and there a pile of frozen bricks or a blackened cellar choked with snow. For some time, Trent had been annoyed by the man behind him, who kept treading on his heels. Convinced at last that it was intentional, he turned to remonstrate and found himself face to face with his fellow student of the Beaux Arts. Trent stared. I thought you were in the hospital. The other shook his head, pointing to his bandaged jaw. I see, you can't speak. Can I do anything? The wounded man rummaged in his haversack and produced a crust of black bread. He can't eat it. His jaw is smashed, and he wants you to eat it for him, said the soldier next to him. Trent took the crust, and grinding it in his teeth, morsel by morsel, passed it back to the starving man. From time to time, mounted orderlies sped to the front, covering them with slush. It was a chilly, silent march through sodden meadows wreathed in fog. Along the railroad embankment, across the ditch, another column moved parallel to their own. Trent watched it, a somber mess, now distinct, now vague, now blotted out in a puff of fog. Once, for half an hour he lost it, but when again it came into view, he noticed a thin line detach itself from the flank and, bellying in the middle, swing rapidly to the west. At the same moment, a prolonged crackling broke out in the fog in front. Other lines began to slouch off from the column, swinging east and west, and the crackling became continuous. A battery passed at full gallop, and he drew back with his comrades to give it way. It went into action a little to the right of his battalion, and as the shot from the first rifle piece boomed through the mist, the cannon from the fortifications opened with a mighty roar. An officer galloped by, shouting something which Trent did not catch, but he saw the ranks in front suddenly part company with his own and disappear in the twilight. More officers rode up and stood beside him, peering into the fog. Away in front, the crackling had become one prolonged crash. It was a dreary waiting. Trent chewed some bread for the man behind him, who tried to swallow it, and after a while shook his head, motioning Trent to eat the rest himself. A corporal offered him a little brandy, and he drank it. But when he turned around to return the flask, the corporal was lying on the ground. Alarmed, he looked at the soldier next to him, who shrugged his shoulders and opened his mouth to speak, but something struck him, and he rolled over and over into the ditch below. This is just the horrors of war now. This is a horror story, and it's not even told in a like, oh fuck, it's just a god, you know? It's kind of sick. I mean, it's sickening, but it's kind of sick to have a story like this in here. I like it. I've come to appreciate this story in a different way. I hope we can finish reading it tonight, because I do have to. I don't know if we will, Chad. There's still quite a bit to go, and I've got about half an hour before I have to be on Big Nose Bug's channel to play Repo with some of our other friends. But I'll see if we can at least get to the end. We'll get to the end of chapter 4, and then next time we read, I will ahead of time announce, like, we're going to finish reading this one, so here's this part of the VOD. It's timestamped so you can like catch up. You know, I think I'll do that. That should be good, right? Shame, though it may be, that we can't finish this short story now. Anyway. Alarmed, he looked at the soldier next to him, who shrugged his shoulders and opened his mouth to speak, but something struck him and he rolled over and over in the ditch below. At that moment, the horse of one of the officers gave a bound and backed into the battalion, lashing out with its heels. One man was ridden down, another was kicked in the chest and hurled through the ranks. The officer sank his spurs into the horse and forced him to the front again, where he stood, trembling. The cannonade seemed to draw nearer. A staff officer, riding slowly up and down the battalion, suddenly collapsed in his saddle and clung to his horse's mane. One of his boots dangled, crimsoned and dripping from the stirrup. Then out of the mist in front, men came running. The roads, the fields, the ditches were full of them, and many of them fell. For an instant he imagined he saw horsemen riding about like ghosts in the vapors beyond, and a man behind him cursed horribly, declaring he too had seen them, and that they were Uhlans, lancers of a cavalry unit. But the battalion stood inactive, and the mist fell again over the meadows. The colonel sat heavily upon his horse, and his bullet-shaped head buried in the astrakhan collar of his dolman, his fat legs sticking straight out in the stirrups. The buglers clustered about him with bugles poised, and behind him a staff officer in a pale blue jacket smoked a cigarette and chatted with the captain of hussars. From the road in front came the sound of furious galloping, and an orderly reined up beside the colonel, who motioned him to the rear without turning his head. Then on the left a confused murmur arose, which ended in a shout. A hussar passed like the wind, followed by another, and then squadron after squadron whirled by them into the sheathing mist. At that instant, The colonel reared in his saddle, the bugles clanged, and the whole battalion scrambled down the embankment, over the ditch, and started across the soggy meadow. Almost at once, Trent lost his cap. Something snatched it from his head. He thought it was a tree branch. A good many of his comrades rolled over in the slush and ice, and he imagined that they had slipped. One pitched right across his path, and he stopped to help him up, but the man screamed when he touched him, and an officer shouted, "Forward! Forward!" So he ran on again. It was a long jog through the mists, and he was often obliged to shift his rifle. When at last they lay panting beyond the railroad embankment, he looked about him. He had felt the need of action, of a desperate physical struggle, of killing and crushing. He had been seized with a desire to fling himself among masses and tear right and left. He longed to fire, to use the thin, sharp bayonet on his chassepot. He had not expected this. He wished to become exhausted, to struggle and cut until incapable of lifting his arm. Then he had intended to go home. He heard a man say that half the battalion had gone down in the charge, and he saw another examining a corpse under the embankment. The body, still warm, was clothed in a strange uniform, but even when he noticed the spiked helmet laying a few inches further away, he did not realize what had happened. The colonel sat on his horse a few feet to his left, his eyes sparkling under the crimson kepi. Trent heard him reply to an officer, "I can hold it, but another charge, and I won't have enough men left to sound a bugle. Were the Prussians here?" Trent asked of a soldier who sat, wiping the blood trickling from his hair. "Yes, the hussars cleaned them out. We caught their crossfire. We are supporting a battery on the embankment," said another. Then the battalion crawled over the embankment and moved along the lines of twisted rails. Trent rolled up his trousers and tucked him into his woolen socks. Then they halted again, and some of the men sat down on the dismantled railroad track. Trent looked for his wounded comrade from the Buards. He was standing in his place, very pale. The cannonade had become terrific, which is not a good thing, as it usually sounds like when you use terrific today. For a moment the mist lifted. He caught a glimpse of the 1st Battalion motionless on the railroad track in front, of regiments on either flank, and then, as the fog settled again, the drums beat, and the music of the bugles began away on the extreme left. A restless movement passed among the troops. The colonel threw up his arm. The drum rolled, and the battalion moved off through the fog. They were near the front row, and the battalion was firing as it advanced. Ambulances galloped along the base of the embankment to the rear, and the hussars passed and repassed like phantoms. They were in the front at last, for all about them was movement and turmoil, while from the fog close at hand came cries and groans and crashing volleys. Shells fell everywhere, bursting along the embankment, splashing them with frozen slush. Trent was frightened. Yeah, I would think so. He began to dread the unknown, which lay there crackling and flaming in obscurity. Dude, dreading the unknown? That's what Cosmic Horror is all about. We're back. We're here. The shock of the cannon sickened him. He could even see the fog light up with a dull orange as the thunder shook the earth. It was near, he felt certain, for the colonel shouted, "Forward!" And the 1st Battalion was hastened into it. Dreading the unknown is just day to day. Also true. This is also true, which is probably why Cosmic Horror is so good. He felt its breath. He trembled, but hurried on. A fearful discharge in front terrified him. Somewhere in the fog men were cheering, and the colonel's horse, streaming with blood, plunged about in the smoke. Another blast and shock, right in his face, almost stunned him, and he faltered. All the men to the right were down. His head swam, the fog and smoke stupefied him. He put out his hand for support and caught something. It was the wheel of a gun carriage, and the men sprang from behind it, aiming a blow at his head with a rammer, but stumbled back, shrieking when a bayonet through his neck, and Trent knew that he had killed. Mechanically, he stooped to pick up his rifle, but the bayonet was still on the man, who lay beating with red hands against the sod. It sickened him, and he leaned on the cannon. Men were fighting all around him now, and the air was foul with smoke and sweat. Somebody seized him from behind and another in front, but others in turn seized them or struck them solid blows. The click, click, click of bayonets infuriated him, and he grasped the rammer and struck out blindly until it was shivered to pieces. A man threw his arm around his neck and bore him to the ground, but he throttled him and raised himself to his knees. He saw our comrade seize the cannon and fall across it with his skull crushed in. He saw the colonel tumble clean out of his saddle into the mud. Then consciousness fled. When he came to himself, he was lying on the embankment among the twisted trails. On every side huddled men who cried out and cursed and fled away into the fog, and he staggered to his feet and followed them. Once he stopped to help a comrade with a bandaged jaw who could not speak but clung to his arm for a time, and then fell dead in the freezing mire. And again he aided another who groaned, "Trent, c'est moi, Philippe," until a sudden volley in the mist relieved him of his charge. An icy wind swept down from the heights, cutting the fog into shreds. For an instant, with an evil leer, the sun peered through the naked woods of Vincennes, sank like a blood clot in the battery smoke, lower, lower, into the blood-soaked plain. And that's the end of chapter 3. What a cool place to end for today. That's again, really not what I was expecting from this book, you know? Like, I was saying, like, oh, I didn't expect to have just, like, earnest romance stories that don't even involve the King Yellow at all, right? And I was fine with that, I guess. It's weird, right? Like, why is it all in the King in Yellow if a lot of this stuff doesn't have anything to do with the King in Yellow? Some of it's not even horror, per se. So I do think that's weird. That doesn't mean that I can't appreciate these stories. Like, this story's so good, but why is it in The King in Yellow? It's really good. It's a really strong story. I love how it's... I really love how it really, like, builds up to the war thing. Like, you think, like, oh, it's, you know, it's these people living their lives under while a war is raging outside their doors, and that's already like a strong thing. But then it's like, oh, but then he runs away from his life to go to war, like, just, I guess, just a way to act out his stress, you know? And for some reason he didn't think much about what it would be like to be in war and the way that it builds up, you know? Like, oh, it's super misty, so he can't see what's happening, and it's just like, oh, you're far away from, you're in the battalion, but you're far away from the actual action, to getting closer and closer to being in the middle of the action, to being in the aftermath of the action, trying so hard to stay alive. It is extremely well written. That is extremely strong. Yeah, it's like a guilt of responsibility. It's treating the conflict like a relief, not aware of what it actually entails. Yeah, it's like if it's like he joins the war because it's easier. You know, that's what it feels like. It's like, I will get a relief from all these troubles in my life, this guilt, these questions, by doing something simple, which is war. War is not easy, but it is simple, you know? I really like that. That is kind of some of the best horror that is in this book. And it's not even about the King in Yellow. That is incredible. I just have to write something a little bit before I do the I just have to think, because I'm about to stream on Bug's channel also, which is why we're going to end this quickly. So, sorry to cut it short. It's a shame. I'll be back though to finish it, and then we'll also read the rest of the stories. I think there's like 2 or 3 more remaining. I hope you all had a wonderful time. I have to go. I want to make sure that I can do the setup for that thing. So thank you guys so much for coming. I'm not gonna raid anyone because I'm just gonna make you guys go to Bug's channel, unless Bug already has the pre-stuff on, which I doubt. No. So I'm just gonna go send you guys over to Bug's channel. Shout out Big Nils. Bug. Bug is a friend of mine and a fellow member of RawXD, and me and a bunch of other friends, or she and me and a bunch of our other friends, are going to be playing Repo, which will be fun. If you don't know it, it's sort of like Lethal Company, but it's different. It's a bit sillier. Big Nose Big. No, don't go there. I spelled it wrong. Ignore that one. It's Big Nose Bug. Can I do it again? Oh fuck! I have to wait 1 minute. Fuck. Okay. Just go to this one. Go to that one. Okay. Big Nose Bug. Not Big Nose Big. That's no one. Ignore that person. Not real. Not a real person. I will also be back tomorrow. I will be doing something. Was it Lunacid? I'm pretty sure it's Lunacid. I think we're completing Lunacid. Or continuing Lunacid. Maybe completing it. Who knows? That's some more cool horror in there, so that'll be fun. Now, I hope you've all had a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed my hearing me read King Yellow. La la la. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye. Wait, that's the wrong one. This one.